Hey guys, welcome to Box Office Addict, my weekly live stream podcast where I break down the weekend numbers for you guys and I have a free-form discussion with the chat. If this is your first Box Office Addict, welcome to the show. I hope you have a good time. If this is the upteenth episode that you've tuned into, well, welcome back. And I'm glad to have you here because without you, my life's meaningless. I don't have anything. I need you guys to validate my opinion. I need you guys to validate my life. If I don't get those likes and those comments and I don't see that sub count go up, if I don't have this arbitrary number that makes me feel like I'm important, then what do I have? What, am I supposed to pray to God? He doesn't subscribe. Well, God doesn't leave a like on my videos. I mean, unless it's a guy who opens up an account who put names at God, then that guy technically, I guess, is subscribing. But, oh, the pressures of these things. The daily struggle of only having 8,400 subs. What am I going to do? I mean, 1 million wouldn't be enough. 10 million wouldn't be enough. 30 million wouldn't be enough. There's never enough, really. There's never going to be enough. I mean, when does the game end? When do I finally feel like my life has meaning? Is it, I don't know, 100 million subscribers when I beat everyone? When I have more than PewDiePie? If I beat PewDiePie, does that make me better? Do I defeat that Swedish bastard to feel like I'm meaningful? Do I have to tap into something? Is this like the Matrix? Do I have to get woke up like Neo? The only way to get woke up is to be the #1 most subscribed YouTube channel. That's it. Alright guys, you heard it here first. We only have to reach 100 million subscribers. That shouldn't be very difficult, right? I mean, God, anyone can do that. I mean, if some random Swedish guy who plays video games can do that, I can do that, right? I mean, I'm American, damn it. We invented the language of freedom. American, that's right. We don't speak English here, we speak American. Yeah, it's awesome. Anyway, how are you guys doing? It's so nice to see all of you. I'm so happy you're all here. Christian Minecraft channel. Well, I like that idea a lot. I'm gonna have to get on that one. That sounds pretty damn good. All of a sudden, a guy in the chat named God shows up, and he says to Pat, kill yourself. Oh. Well, that hurts. That's a kick in all 3 of my testicles, and the third one hangs low. So it's easier to kick, but the other 2 feel the vibrations from it. Did you break up with your girl, Mr. Rewind? You sound sad. No, of course not. I'd be super happy if I broke up with my girlfriend because I would be the one who broke up with her. If I got dumped, I could see myself being sad, but when you're the breakup one, you feel pretty awesome. Every time I've ever broke up with somebody before, the week after, I feel like a pimp. Like, oh man, I'm in control of my shit. It only takes a little while after that it kicks in. Getting dumped, though, that sucks. But I didn't get dumped either. I've just been up a while. I've been up since like 5:30 in the morning. I've been going to bed really early and waking up really early, so it's been a weird time for me. See, I'm the kind of guy that likes to stay up late, and I also usually sleep in later than most people because my job lets me do that. But all of a sudden, this last week or so, I've been waking up extremely early. I'm not sad, though. I'm happy. I was watching Schindler's List earlier and just laughing. It was hilarious. You're leaving your wife for Captain Crunch. Well, that's a good thing. I hope it's Berry Crunch. It's more delicious than the regular Captain Crunch. You moved, Pat. No, I'm still in the process of moving, but thank you for reminding me about the arrested development of my life. Thank you, Kevin. I really needed that. I don't feel like a loser as is. Hey, Pat, I recently saw Braveheart and Isle of Dogs. Well, that's a weird combination. The Berry Crunch has just the berry flavor. It's kind of like eating Fruity Pebbles mixed with Captain Crunch. You get the crunchiness of the Captain Crunch, but you get that delicious fruity flavor of like Fruity Pebbles or Twix or something. That's why it's a little bit better. But it's still mixed in with the regular Captain Crunch. So it's a good mix of two things. Personally, I find the Berry Crunch to be the superior cereal. Hi, I'm a new subscriber. Well, it's good to have you here. Welcome. I hope this isn't a massive disappointment to you like I am to my parents. Would you like a debate between Alex and Ralph about The Last Jedi? I guess. I don't think it would be much of a debate since Alex is horrible at debating and Ralph doesn't really say anything that insightful. But sure, why not? That'd be entertaining. I'd listen to that. Hey, Pat, I've never been able to catch one of these live. It's great to finally catch one of these live. Woo. I'm glad you're not sad, and it's a joke. You had me a minute there. If you girl good, keep her good. Ones are hard to find. Yeah, those good women are sure hard to find. The piano montage of the Jews getting killed down by Nazi stormtroopers is pure slapstick from the golden age of Hollywood. No, it's still horrifying. Tuesday, I'll see Casablanca. Oh, that's great, Crazy. I hope you enjoy that movie. I've certainly enjoyed it in the past. Yeah, you know what? There is a scene in Schindler's List that does make me laugh, and I wish it didn't, because I don't laugh during... Well, there actually is parts of that movie I laugh, like... with Ray Fiennes. He is very funny in that. It's fucking cold. Put the window down, it's fucking cold. Like, he's hilarious. But there's a scene where that little girl's going, "Goodbye, Jews! Goodbye!" And she sounds like Borat or something. It's just a horrible line delivery. "Goodbye, Jews!" And it's just it's so funny. I can't help it every time. How about debating Mahler for Blade Runner 2049? What did he not like Blade Runner 2049 or something, or did he love it? I'm confused here. I don't know what Mahler thinks about that. I mean, would you address about the shitstorm from the Thundercats reboot is what I assume you're talking about. We could talk about that a little bit later. Deadpool 2 was a disappointment for me. Deadpool 2 sucks ass. My grammar is atrocious. Oh, well, that's okay. Nobody in this chat's very smart. I'm including myself in this too. I mean, it's being the king of the dipshits is nice because it's better to be the king of something than nothing at all. But you know, I don't have any ego here. I'm not making any false claims of this being an intellectual channel. You know, as Andy Worski likes to always talk about it because he just likes to use the word intellectual when he talks about JF and others. They want to have their intellectuals debate. Intellectual. It's like, I don't know if you know what that word means or if you're giving a little bit too much power, because I don't know if I would call JF an intellectual. But sure, I guess for YouTube Blood Sports, JF is an intellectual. We'll give it that. He didn't like it. Well, that's fine. I could actually totally see somebody disliking 2049. I don't know if I could win a debate in that because I think there's a lot of valid criticisms of 2049. I think I would probably agree with him. Even though I really liked Blade Runner 2049, I think there's a lot of things about that movie you could really pick apart. Not razor fist dumb criticisms. Ryan Gosling's Canadian. But actually, like, plot issues and as a sequel and some things about it, I could definitely see somebody... I had negatives in my review with it, so... Till now, I felt I was the only one who came out disappointed by Deadpool 2. You know, I think a lot of people are feeling that way. I don't know if that'll be the general consensus coming out of the movie. And I don't want to really want to review the movie because I saw it yesterday, and I want to save my review for the channel. So if I just talk about it here, I kind of waste that and give away a lot of things for you guys. But I think a lot of people are going to feel that way about Deadpool 2. Now, I'm not saying that I was disappointed, because to be disappointed, you would have to have expectations. And personally, I didn't have very big expectations for Deadpool 2, because I don't think Deadpool 1's a great movie. I like Deadpool 1. I thought it was fun and amusing. But I don't think Deadpool 1 was this classic that everyone else made it out to be. So for me, Deadpool 2, my level of hype wasn't as high as probably some other people. Because to me, the first Deadpool is a movie that has a lot of good parts, like the whole highway sequence. And that whole stretch of the movie, and the way it's structured with the flashbacks and him narrating it. But I don't think the jokes are as clever as other people do. I actually don't find Deadpool that clever. Even watching Deadpool 2 yesterday, and thinking about the first one, I'm like, I could write better jokes than this. I was sitting in the car with my girlfriend, and I was just telling jokes. And I was doing them like Deadpool. Like, I was a very Deadpool delivery, and she was just laughing. And I was like, we're laughing more in the car right now than we were laughing watching the Deadpool movies. Like, I feel like I could write better dialogue. It's not that I don't think the visual gags aren't funny, or some of the set piece stuff isn't funny, but I added your channel to my featured channels. Well, thank you, Captain. But I don't actually think the stuff Deadpool says is that funny. Like, I wear red so bad guys can't see me bleed or something. It's like, that's not that funny. Maybe it's just because we don't get a lot of good comedies anymore, and most superhero films have pretty generic jokes. But I don't make a good argument that Infinity War is a much funnier movie than Deadpool, or like Guardians of the Galaxy was a funnier movie than Deadpool. For me, I've never really understood this massive hype about Deadpool being this like laugh out loud hilarious movie or character. I get Deadpool, I get the meta aspects, I get breaking the fourth wall, I get what his character represents, but I've never actually found Deadpool to be that creative. I never felt like anyone's ever done anything that great with him. And it's more of a gimmick than it is something that I find to be that intelligent. But maybe I just don't understand it. I'm not acting like I have some kind of superiority complex, but people are always going on about Deadpool and how amazing it is, and I don't know. But once again though, I enjoyed Deadpool. I mean, I like the movie. I don't hate Deadpool, and I don't hate the comic book character, but I've never been on much of the bandwagon. I really enjoyed Deadpool 2, but I don't know how it fares with the comics, but it's consistent with the first movie in humor. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know either, honestly. Could you tell some of your jokes as Deadpool? I can't even remember, to be honest with you, because I was just riffing. There was something about us coming early to get something. I can't remember. I can remember one of them. There was something about us coming early. And I talked about how late I was for things that I don't like to come early, and I said, well, I like to come early in some cases. And I kind of looked at my girlfriend with this look. But it was just a bunch of stuff like that. Or we went to the store to get some stuff for the house, and I can't even remember. I was just saying something like, this is balls hard or something. I can't remember, to be honest with you. It was all improv. I honestly can't remember, but it's just like stuff I was doing off the top of my head, and I was like, this movie was written by screenwriters, and some of these lines sound like they were just like what I was doing, like just riffs. Like if I sit down to write a script, I would at least do 5 or 6 passes on a joke, maybe a dozen passes on a joke. And with the Deadpool movie, sometimes I feel like it's not it's like, did you just think, oh, that's funny, that's good enough? Now, I will say, the end credits of Deadpool 2, I'll spoil that a little bit. I think that's the funniest part of the movie, is the after credit sequence. That part is the funniest part, it's the most clever, it's the most inspired thing, and it's at the end of the frickin' movie. Like, I was sitting there thinking, like, where were these jokes throughout the whole film? Because this movie's entertaining, but where the hell were jokes at this level? Because the final, 2 minutes of jokes are amazing. And they're so, that was the only time I actually laughed out loud in the movie. I didn't laugh out loud at anything. I got a few chuckles, but I laughed out loud at the end credits. I was like, that's funny. Particular one part of it I thought was very funny. But, not bad. Will Deadpool 2 make 800 million or less than 7? It's hard to tell. It depends on the word of mouth, honestly. we can't really tell an opening weekend, but we will get into that because I guess you could say this was a underperformance. I don't necessarily want to call it that, but the expectations and the tracking for Deadpool 2 were much higher. And it is a sequel to a film that made a lot of money and was pretty much loved. I mean, Deadpool 1 was a huge hit. I made a crap load of money. Critics liked it. Audiences loved it. So I'm not sure. Did he go back in time and kill Tom Rothman? In a way, he did. He didn't necessarily kill Tom Rothman, but you kind of have the joke. Yeah, that's kind of what they do. They have Deadpool do something with time travel, and he goes back to fix things from the past in previous Fox movies. And there's one bit in that where I just laughed because it took me back to the theater when I saw one film back, I guess 2009 when it came out. It took me back like almost 10 years ago, and I was like, oh god, yeah, that was awful. And just seeing it again in the theater was funny. I don't even know if the idea was that funny, but seeing that scene again in the theater was so funny to me. The Deadpool, oh my god, it's so funny crowd. Literally the same audience as the Rick and Morty crowd. I mean, I do think some people, they get a little too obsessed with meta humor. I'm a big fan of meta humor myself, but it seems like if there's just an ounce of it, people think it's like the smartest thing ever to be meta. It's not that hard to be meta. You just have, like, there's a joke in Deadpool 2 where he says, like, you know, we passed Passion of the Christ. He goes, not domestically, but worldwide we do at the international box office where there is no religion. Now, that's not unfunny. He's bringing up the box office of Passion of the Christ, and he's saying there's no religion in the rest of the world. But, you know, that's not a genius joke or something. It's just him pointing out, I mean, anybody could really write that joke. That's the thing with meta humor. I don't think it's as difficult. I think to actually do something really meta that's really smart isn't as easy, but I haven't seen many films or shows do that well. That are, you know, now Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the Freddy Krueger film, that film I think is a good, very intelligent use of meta in acknowledging as making if Freddy Krueger, if he was real and Nancy's real and it's the actress, you know, Heather playing her and all that stuff. That movie I think pulls it off really well. But for the most part, I don't think meta's ever as great as some people make it out to be. But it's not that I dislike it, though. I'm a fan of that. I know it's self-aware. There's really bad green screen work and CGI in the film. Well, it isn't a big-budget film, Madcap. They didn't actually go that much bigger on the budget for Deadpool 2, which I think was probably a smart decision from a financial standpoint. Not from, maybe, not for the end result of the movie, because there is some wonky CG, but the first film cost $58 million, and that was what they could get from the studio. They wanted $65 million, and they couldn't even get that. But what Tim Miller did that was so smart is he scaled the movie down. He had the big action set-piece special effects moment primarily be on the highway sequence, and then the rest of the movie wasn't that big budget, didn't need to be big budget, so he was very clever at that. This film has a lot of action and a lot of special effects in it, but this film only cost $110 million. So this film has, like, about double the budget of the original Deadpool. And see, a lot of people thought this film was going to have a $150 million budget because it was a sequel to a very successful movie. I mean, Deadpool 1 made almost $800 million worldwide. How do you make smart meta humor? You make the audience not so aware that it's meta while you're doing it, would be my answer. Or your subversion, or what you're acknowledging, the self-awareness isn't as overt as it would be in something like Deadpool, where he's honestly just acknowledging things, or that he's in a comic book movie, actually trying to, something an audience would think back later and go, oh wait, that was meta, and not totally realizing why it's happening. Subverting people's expectations while also being self-aware of what you're doing. I think Community has standalone episodes that do this very well. Not every episode of Community, but there's one episode, My Dinner with Abed, where Jeff goes to dinner with Abed, spoilers, and the whole scene feels like it's going to be the whole episode feels like it's going to be this big Pulp Fiction homage, because they're having a Pulp Fiction party for Abed, because Abed's character's obsessed with pulp culture. So Jeff ends up going to this dinner with Abed, and they go and meet at this restaurant, and Abed's talking about how he wants to have a real serious conversation, and he's letting the pulp culture stuff go, and they go sit down at a table. And what's happening is it's actually a parody of the movie My Dinner with Andre, except written as the community character. So Abed, instead of telling the story that Andre Gregory tells, is telling about how he went on the set of Cougar Town and got to be an extra. But it's written in the same way of My Dinner with Andre, and that's kind of the plot twist as the Pulp Fiction stuff's going on. So Jeff the whole time thinks Abed is actually going through this change as a person, and he opens up to him, and then the rest of the group shows up, and then Abed's like, wait, this is Pulp Fiction? What's going on? It's Pulp Fiction? Oh, that's awesome. And then Jeff's like, wait, what's going on, Abed? This isn't real. And he goes, no, we're doing a movie, My Dinner with Andre. It's a movie from the 80s. And then you're like, oh, it's a My Dinner with Andre spoof. And then the end, Jeff's narrating, and he says, My Dinner with Abed. I think that's a very good example of being meta, but not being so abrasive, I guess would be the way to say it. Josh Brolin is now my favorite actor. I'm telling you, Josh Brolin is having a good summer. This is the summer of the Brolin, isn't it? Holy crap, he's in Infinity War, and that's already made over $1 billion, almost $2 billion, and now he's in Deadpool 2. I mean, holy shit, I wish I had his agent. I mean, goddamn. So what you're saying is that Mr. Medicare should have written Deadpool 2. I think Mr. Medicare could have written better lines of dialogue than a lot of the stuff that got past the screenwriters for Deadpool 2. I didn't even notice that Black Panther is finally out of the top 10. Can it get to 700 million? It should get to 700 million. I mean, it still got enough momentum to get there. It had a big drop this week, but that probably has to do with the drop in theaters. Typing to see my time lag. Okay, then. I love the action-packed Zamboni scenes. Sometimes the idea says a lot. No, the Zamboni scene's probably my favorite part of the first Deadpool 2. I'm gonna kill you in like 5 minutes. How long is Black Panther gonna play? Christ, I don't know. I guess forever. It's never gonna leave theaters. Well, chat's always a little delayed if you're watching the thing. There's always going to be a delay. Like, there's typically a delay between what I see and what you guys get on the other end. That's just how these things work, bitches. That's just how these things work. So guess what I did this morning? I'm going to start this new tradition, which I've been doing the last few weeks, where I get up really early on Sundays, and I watch a Sunday movie. You guys know what I'm talking about? When you get up Sunday and it's warm, they call it a rainy Sunday. They tell you to watch movies on days like that. You ever fell asleep during a good movie theater? I've never actually fallen asleep in a movie theater. I've been with people who have fallen asleep during a movie, but I've never fallen asleep in a theater. I've fallen asleep at home watching a movie, but I've never in the theater, no. I've been very tired, though, and had a hard time staying awake during some movies. Les Miserables really did try to kill me. That was tough. Hey, Pat, just caught up. Did you like Deadpool 2? I'm trying to save that for my review. Alright, Bathory. Hope I see you later, my friend. I'm going to do a review. I might do a live stream review of Deadpool 2 or a formal video. I don't know if you guys have liked... If you guys like the new style of my videos, I've been trying to do this new editing and make them a little shorter and more scripted. My last 3 videos was my Barry review, my... Batman, Ninja, and Isle of Dogs. But if you guys notice, there's kind of a new intro to my videos, and they're a little quicker. They may lack some humor. I'm gonna have to work on that. They probably lack some of the humor that you guys like about the channel. And I've been adding iDubbbz to the end of every single one of them. But I've been really satisfied with them. I'm trying to get a little bit tighter with the editing and make them a little bit faster paced, and making my arguments much better. Articulating my points a little bit more, and keeping it concise, not trying to repeat myself or repeat the points. But that Isle of Dogs video really screwed me, because like that everyone was watching videos about the movie a month ago. I really should have reviewed that film a while ago, but I didn't get a chance to see it. But I think the last 3 videos are a good example of where I'm kind of trying to take the channel, at least with the reviews, not necessarily with everything. Obviously, that's not going to affect the live streams or the commentary. Okay, let me see. I love your recent reviews, though I wish we could have more live streams. I mean, there was the one week I did a live stream every day. Are you old enough to remember Chilly Willy Saturday Horror Theater on Pittsburgh Channel? I didn't live in this area when I was young, so I don't remember that. I lived in Texas for most of my life. I did like the dubstep joke in Deadpool that every time they fought, the dubstep came on. I thought that was funny. Just the music. The music was probably my favorite part of the whole movie. I thought the music choices were all terrific. I was very happy with almost all of the song choice. And honestly, a Say Anything reference, of course, I'm gonna like that. I'm a fan of Say Anything and Cameron Crowe. But Sundays, you know, they used to have this thing about a rainy Sunday watch movies. You get up early. So I've been having my rainy Sunday movie where I make coffee. And I'm going to watch something. And I watched this Sunday. Now, I think next weekend I'm going to try to do a film that I think goes well with the film I watched this Sunday. And I watched this at like 7 in the morning. And I'm trying to watch really long movies to take up the majority of the weekend. So when it's over, it's almost afternoon and I can kind of start my day. So today I watched Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, which I have seen before, but I haven't watched in a while. And I got to say, rewatching it, and I always liked the movie. I legitimately think it's Tarantino's best film since Jackie Brown. I mean, I don't like the Kill Bill movies. I've already stated that before. I've ranted a little bit about the indulgence and inconsistency of both Inglourious Basterds and Django, even though I really like Inglourious Basterds, and I like a lot of Django, especially the first half of Django. And I obviously like the tavern sequence in the opening 20 minutes to Inglourious Basterds. But, now he is moving to Columbus. Maybe I had met him if he was in Texas. Sad he is leaving PA as he could have met Jessica, Rain Moser. Well, you know, I could meet now Chris Stuckman. I could meet Chris Stuckman, people. He is in Cleveland. And I'd only be a couple hours away, so we might get that Chris Stuckman Please Rewind collaboration we've all wanted. Wouldn't that be great? I just randomly show up on a Chris Stuckman video in the background. He's talking, and I just pop up from behind the chair. Surprise, motherfucker! The opening credits song and the song choice is really emotional scene towards the end was terrific. I agree. The opening credits of the James Bond thing made me laugh. I mean, it wasn't a big laugh, but I did find that very amusing that they basically did the credits from Skyfall or Spectre. They did the last two James Bond movies. And yeah, but that would be the great thing. I could show up as the Antichrist and ruin his shit. That's what would make it such a great collaboration. We just sit there and have a really boring conversation for 10 minutes and it gets 1 million hits because it's on his channel. I can't wait. So I watched The Hateful Eight today. Yeah, maybe we can collab, Captain. That'd be awesome. I would love to hang out with any of you guys so you could rate me. I think Chris Stuckman is taking his critics seriously. He enrolled in film school. Oh, I'm glad he enrolled in film school. That's gonna help. I didn't know if you were a boring person that got fixed by going to film school. I didn't know that made you more interesting. That's really good to know. So, watching The Hateful Eight again. I never did a review of that movie, because I really wasn't Please Rewind when that movie came out. I really didn't, what was that, 2015? That movie came out? 2015, 2016? So, I really like it, man. But the movie I'm going to watch next weekend, by the way, is going to be the John Frankenheimer film adaptation of the great Eugene O'Neill play, The Iceman Cometh. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the play, but if you've never seen the film from the 70s, it's absolutely terrific. It's actually got Jeff Bridges in it in a very early role, but it's a wonderful movie from 1973 that I highly recommend. But, you know, the play is one of my all-time favorite plays. The Iceman Cometh is all these people. Basically, the whole play takes place in, like, this bar for 3 hours, like 3.5 hours. And it's one of the best pieces of writing I think ever. I think it's up there with Anton Chekhov. I think it's one of the greatest. I think it's just one of the greatest pieces of theater, and one of the greatest pieces, just writing. Yeah, it's just one of the greatest things ever written, in my opinion. It's mind blowing. So next week I'm going to watch The Iceman Cometh, which I'm really excited because I haven't seen it in a long time. But I remember loving the movie. I've seen the play, but it's an amazing piece of work, and it's obviously the best film adaptation we're ever going to get. I think the cast to it's absolutely astonishing. Chris Stuckman does seem like a nice guy. Do you remember that video where he was like crying about Red Letter Media for like calling him like a douchebag or something, and he made this whole video about it, and he looked like heartbroken? And, like, apparently he messaged them on Twitter or something. It was like, hey, what did you mean by that? It's like, oh my god, dude. And they had to tell him it was a joke. That's so embarrassing. Why did he upload a video about that? Chris, come on, man. Holy crap. Like, that was hard to watch. That was like watching a child get beat up right in front of you. I mean, it was really rough. You did miss me talk about the Iceman Cometh Bathory. You gotta get on that. But I'll probably talk about that more next week after I rewatch the movie. Seen critics not giving Deadpool 2 great reviews, yet they're really being positive over Last Jedi. I mean, Deadpool 2 is getting pretty good reviews. It's getting reviews on par with the first one. The first one got like 84% Rotten Tomatoes, and that's what this one has. A big issue with the Hateful Eight that I didn't see before, why the gang who were occupying the cabin didn't start shooting as soon as Kurt Russell and Foot inside Jennifer Jason Leigh. I thought about that today too, rewatching it. But my thinking on that was possibly they didn't know. Now, he does say this, Channing Tatum. He says that Kurt Russell's character has a gun near her. Now, you have to remember that Kurt Russell's character is handcuffed to Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, and he has a gun pointed at her. So if they just started shooting at them, they could shoot her, or Kurt Russell could get a shot off on her before they were able to get to her. So it's kind of dangerous to take that risk. Also, they didn't know that he was going to show up with 2 other people. Samuel Jackson says this in the movie. He says, you guys weren't expecting the blizzard or us being here. So he shows up there with Walton Goggins and Sam Jackson, which they weren't expecting. So there's 2 other guys there, and they don't know if these guys have guns. So walking in and just shooting them, there's a chance that Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, who they were trying to save, could get shot in this. She wasn't single white female. I love the Jennifer Jason Leigh. She's also in Fast Times at Richmond High. Amazing actress. So I did think about that a little bit too. Why didn't they just all wait by the side and just come on the side and just blow them away? But it would be hard to shoot at them without shooting her because she is handcuffed to Kurt Russell. So I do think that makes it a little bit... Yeah, but you have to think about range too, though. Like, Kurt Russell has a gun to her and he's standing right there. So he could pull his trigger before they're able to kill him. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he'd have to blow her... Like, he could blow her stomach out right before they shoot. He'd die, but she could die too. So, maybe that was their thinking. Because that's what Channing Tatum says in the dialogue. So I guess we're just spoiling this movie. It came out like 3 years ago, so fuck you. But here's the thing. Yeah, he was hiding underneath the floorboard, but you still don't know if... He says in the flashback, though, yeah, he could have shot them from the bottom, but he can only shoot from that little area. He can't shoot from anywhere in the floor. He was only able to shoot Sam Jackson because Sam Jackson was standing there near the area where he was at. He wouldn't be able to just, like, as far as I could tell, the basement didn't take the whole floor. So I don't think that would have worked either. And I think that once again, it's risky because he showed up with 2 other people. So if Sam Jackson starts shooting after they start shooting, somebody else could get killed. And I think they were hoping to get rid of, I think they were hoping to do it without anybody getting hurt. I think that's why Michael Madsen tried to poison them. Because if he could do that, then they could all just fall over dead, and then they could just walk out without any collateral damage. But anyway, you know, once again, Inglourious Basterds, great opening 20 minutes. The tavern scene with Michael Fassbender, terrific. Great movie. Great sequence in that movie, at least. You know, Brad Pitt's character. But yeah, I think that movie's a mess. Christoph Waltz is great. The Bastards are great. There's great moments, but it's a mess. All that stuff with the girl who survives the opening scene and she opens up the theater and all that, I think that doesn't... The juxtaposition with that and all the other stuff going on, I don't think it's all cohesive. I really like the movie. I've seen it a bunch. But, you know, it's kind of a mess despite being a really entertaining movie. Django, I think, has got a terrible 4th act after Christoph Waltz leaves the movie. Jamie Foxx isn't very good in it. There's Over the Top. Really good movie, though. But Hateful Eight, I think in a lot of ways is his best recent movie because it's focused, because it doesn't have all those moving pieces that his other films have, that it doesn't have a dozen different storylines going on at once or genres mixed. It's a pretty focused film. Like, I mean, the first 20 minutes, you're in the wagon with Kurt Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh and Sam Jackson, and you get all this setup. that sets up kind of the subtext about these archetypes that these characters all represent from different movies or parts of history. But the thing I really like about the movie, upon rewatch, that I found fascinating was, I love that Walton Goggins at the beginning of the movie who's an actor I love, by the way. It's just this racist, over the top Southern guy. He's sad that they lost the Civil War, and he keeps calling Samuel Jackson the N-word. And they have these confrontations. But what's so beautiful about the structure of the film is that him and Sam Jackson end up being the two guys who are kind of left, and they're the guys you're rooting for. And they're at least they seem like the two best people out of the people that were in that cabin. It's an intimate epic, that's for sure. And their relationship, that they go from being, at odds with each other, and then they end up teaming up with each other in the final third of the movie, is not where you're expecting the movie to go at all. You don't think that it's going to go that direction, that these two are the ones that are going to end up together. And it makes it one of the more richer Tarantino films, because he earns that. And it kind of takes it takes Walton Goggins' character, at least as a stereotype, and brings him to this place of complexity that he didn't have in the early part of the movie. And it makes him a more fleshed out, complex character. And that... Oh, sorry, let me read your thing. I read The Hateful Eight before I saw it, and the difference with the script and the movie is Channing Tatum's character is still alive, but that he gets eaten alive by rats because he wasn't shot dead. Oh, that's awesome. They should have kept that in the movie. But in particular, the last scene of the movie where they hang Jennifer Jason Leigh, and it almost feels like a statement Tarantino's making about violence and his use of violence in movies, but I could be reading into it. But him getting her hung and them sitting there watching it and then reading the letter from Lincoln, even though it's a fake letter, you find out Sam Jackson actually didn't get a letter from Lincoln. He just makes that up so white people will help him out. Them reading that at the end is, I don't know, it's kind of beautiful. It's like one of the more emotional scenes in a modern Tarantino movie. And it makes the whole movie kind of come together thematically in a way that's really tight. Yeah, Civil War and ending the film with the reading. Yeah, the reading of the letter. Yeah, the reading of the letter is such a powerful thing. And you have this woman hung that you just kind of grow to hate, even though she kind of feel empathy for her somewhat, because, she's no worse than anyone else in that cabin. But him reading this letter, even though it's a fake letter, the words have meaning. Even though Lincoln didn't write it, the words still have meaning. They still mean something. And Walton Goggins reading it kind of understands it, and says that's a nice touch at the end. And Kurt Russell says at the beginning he likes the ending of the letter, but it's showing you the power of words. And it's a film that is about words. It's a film that's mostly done through communication, like most Tarantino films. It's a lot of people talking, but having it end on words, I think, is really powerful. Even though the whole third act is very visual and a lot of gore and a lot of over the top violence, it ends on a moment of just somebody reading something, and that communication between two people who have now bonded with each other over this whole ordeal. They've learned to come together as brothers, because there's kind of this great thing about the movie where these guys, it's a post-Civil War. So Sam Jackson was in the Civil War, and Walton Goggins' father was like a commander or something like that. And so Walton Goggins tells her at one point, she's like, I got a gang, my brother. And he goes, you don't know what a gang is. He goes, you don't know what a group is. My father had a gang. He stood for something. He stood for honor. He had 400 men after the war, and he still fought. And then at the end of the movie, it's like him and Sam Jackson go through their own war together. They go through their own battle together, like the Battle of Baton Rouge that Sam Jackson talks about. It's like they kind of go through their own battle and become soldiers with each other and survive this thing together, which Tarantino always loves. He loves this thing about honor and men going through things together. That's in Pulp Fiction with Marcellus and Butch. It's in Reservoir Dogs with Mr. Orange and Mr. White, and where that movie ends, and why he tells them. Because people always ask Tarantino, they go, why did Tim Roth tell Harvey Keitel at the end that he was a cop? He could have just waited, and he wouldn't get shot. But he goes, he told him because of honor. Is a fucking honor, man. That's why he fucking told that guy, because of what they went through together is why he told him that. And I'm into that. That's what Tarantino's films are about. All of his films. He goes the code of the samurai. Bruce Willis is walking down the stairs with the samurai sword. He's a samurai warrior with honor. So Walton Goggins sitting there reading the letter with them, they go through this, there's an honor amongst them, despite being kind of bad men, that they're hateful men. Why it's called Hateful Eight. They kind of find this bonding in the honor of like, well, we went through this thing together. And I think that's really good. really well done. And just the flashback scene's probably my least favorite part of the movie. But I felt Jennifer Jason Leigh should have also won the Oscar. I think so too. I think she gave Jennifer Jason Leigh's terrific in Hateful Eight. She's so good. But I like that character dynamic and how they come together through that war thing, and then it makes the subtext and all the Civil War conversations and the early conversations about their backstory actually has a big payoff in the finale. That I don't think a lot of Tarantino films have that. I think a lot of them kind of end on a punchline, but this movie doesn't end on a punchline. It kind of sneaks up on you with that. It's really liked it. Rewatch. It's very good. Really, really good. Hateful Eight is, in my opinion, his best film since Jackie Brown. I think he could have definitely done some more stuff with the third act and been more mature about it, not went to such over-the-top violence as he tends to do in his modern movies. What happened to the Tarantino that had restraint? People seem to forget this. Like, a lot of people say, oh, Tarantino always did this stuff. It's like, no, actually, he didn't always do over-the-top violence. And I'm not against that, but go back and watch Reservoir Dogs. What happens in the torture sequence? When Michael Madsen, Mr. Blonde, cuts the guy's ear off, the camera pans away and we don't see it. He doesn't actually indulge in the violence that much in that movie. He has restraint. Pulp Fiction, like, people think of it as a more violent film than it is. Like, yeah, there's some violence in it, but he really doesn't, like, indulge in it. And Jackie Brown doesn't indulge in it. He used to be very, like, he was very intelligent about how he approached these things in his early films. In his recent films, he'll just show a shootout and there's all this gore and blood and over-the-top violence, and I'm not knocking it, but he used to be more clever about it, and it was more powerful and felt more realistic because he didn't make it over the top into just like a grindhouse exploitation film. He actually used to treat it like art, and his influences, his foreign influences, used to come through a lot more. But now with his films, I guess maybe because he has a bigger budget, he just doesn't indulge in what he can. And I prefer that older Tarantino that used to be more mature about approaching these things, and it would let the moment would linger with you more. You don't remember everybody that gets shot and blown up and all the blood and all of the other in the modern Tarantino films, like when she fights the crazy. You don't remember every beat of it, but you remember those scenes in those early films because he just, there's more craft to them. And I don't think he does that as much anymore, which is fine. He changed, but I think it's almost like he's gone backwards as a filmmaker in that regard, that he used to be better about that stuff. And now he seems like a younger director making violent movies than a director who learned about violence. It was kind of like when Kurosawa made Ron, and it was a film that had to be made by someone in their 70s because it's about an old man looking back on his life and the decisions he's made and how those have affected him and how it's come back to really haunt him, and how Kurosawa treats violence is so restrained in that movie, and it's so powerful because of it, because the violence really means something. And it feels like the violence in Tarantino movies used to really mean something for the psychology of the characters, but now sometimes it just feels like he does it because it looks cool and not necessarily because it has a depth to it. And that's something that bothers me about him. I still like the film, and I remember loving it, the 70mm Roadshow presentation, the favorite movie experience I had in the theater. Yeah, Pulp Fiction isn't overindulgent. Tarantino's very loose on the... He is. It's really... Yeah, I don't know what happened to that early Tarantino. I know it was maybe the indie scene, and now he feels he has to make these movies more blockbuster-ish, but I prefer that early stuff. I really do. But Hateful Eight's really good. I think it's really good. I think it's one of his better scripts. I think the characterization's really good. I think the actors, Walton Goggins, who's great, is great. Sam Jackson, that's one of his best roles in years. Hateful Eight was his last film. He's currently making Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But his last film, which I just watched Hateful Eight this morning. So I sat here with my coffee for 3 hours and just drank, and the characters are drinking coffee. That was really funny. The characters are in this cabin in the cold drinking coffee, and I was sitting here in my house watching it in the dark room drinking coffee, and I kind of like, it was just the right atmosphere. I was up really early, and I'm just sitting there with a blanket on and drinking coffee, watching the movie, going through it with these guys, and I had a great time. Yeah, so I know I went on a rant about Tarantino before, in my issues with him, but I do like that movie. But that's, we'll see where that goes. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about The Iceman Cometh next weekend. Okay, let's see how long this has been going on. I feel like I've been going on long. Yeah, 45 minutes. Holy shit. All right, let me talk about the box office a little bit, and then we can come back to some conversation. There just isn't much to talk about except Deadpool. Anyway, Black Panther is at 1,343,000,000 worldwide. I think that's about where it's at. It's almost at 700 million. I Feel Pretty, starring Amy Schumer's at 46 million on a $32 million budget. Not that great. Not big profits. RBG's been doing surprisingly well. 1.2 million this weekend, 7% increase, 3.8 million. Rampage, starring The Rock, is made 1.5 million. It probably won't make 100 million. I can't see it doing it unless it Memorial Day weekend puts it over the top, but it's made over 400 million worldwide. That's 406 million on a $120 million budget. So the film's done okay. A Quiet Place is about to pass Get Out. I believe Get Out made 177 million. This is 176. This should make over 180 million. It's going to make 300 million worldwide. It's at 296. So with a $17 million budget, 296 million worldwide, this has already made a bunch of profit, and it's still got a little ways to go. So, you know, I've already talked about this film a lot, but A Quiet Place, obviously one of the most successful films of the year so far, and horror films are just doing huge right now. The Overboard remake had a pretty big drop this weekend, 52%. It's made 49 million worldwide, 36 million domestic. Should be able to make 45 million if it keeps going at this pace. Show Dogs, 6 million on opening weekend. 6 million, that's it. It's in 3,200 theaters. That's a pretty terrible opening for 3,200 theaters. God, that's a director I hate. I think the guy did Scooby-Doo. Yeah, Scooby-Doo movies, Your Minds and Ours, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, The Smurfs. Yeah, this guy sucks. Although Never Been Kissed is kind of a fun movie, and it's great on the Fight Club DVD or Blu-ray. When you buy it, they put on the title screen for Never Been Kissed. It's one of my favorite things they've ever done to a DVD or Blu-ray is you put it in, and then it's Never Been Kissed, the Drew Barrymore movie, and you're like, what? What the fuck is this? And then you're like, oh, and then it turns into the Fight Club menu. The DVD menus for that movie. That's very funny. Breaking In, 6.4 million, 63% drop. That's the Gabrielle Union film. $6 million budget, $30 million worldwide, $28 million domestically. That should make a little bit of a profit if they didn't spend too much on marketing. Life of the Party, 7.7 million, 56% drop, $31 million domestically. This is the Melissa McCarthy film. This film is not doing that well. I would say Melissa McCarthy is on the decline when it comes to popularity and relevancy. But that's a pretty bad drop. I can't see this film making much money. Maybe 50 million. Okay, let's go to our sponsors of the weeks, okay, folks? All right, let's talk about the shirts, folks. So, we have a new version of the Ben Swifty shirt, the Rick and Morty shirt. This is from Cult Film Video. He helps sponsor this channel. This is merchandise. I'll put the links to this in the channel, in the description. The shirt's only $14.99. I think that's a pretty good price. The Ben Swifty shirt right there. It's Rick and Morty. So, yeah, $14.99. This is a guy who's helped me out. He's going to be the guy making the Please Rewind shirts and the Please Rewind beanies and all that stuff. And I'll be doing videos with him. Screen Champs, where we debate movies. Fantasy Movie League, where we get to pick our own directors, actors, and movies and that. And we kind of do like fantasy football. And, another show we're going to do is After School News, where we just talk about movie news, kind of a Midnight's Edge show. And then A Fistful of Spaghetti, where we review spaghetti westerns, which we have a long list of those, and we're going to watch them and talk about them. So there you go. That'll be on Cult Film Video. Go subscribe to his channel, Cult Film Video. It's on my recommended channels. I should be doing a video with him in the next week or two, honestly. Me and him have been having many Skype conversations, so we're not far off from doing the first episode of the show. Okay, folks? All right, gang? Okay? They used to call me Virgin Ben in the press. That's really embarrassing. All right, because I had to wait till marriage. I had to wait till marriage for my wife, who's a doctor. She knew how to perform oral sex, just like she knew how to perform surgery, folks. Okay? And then this other shirt also. If you're reading this, I hate Drake. Which this one was made for me a little bit because I hate Drake. This shirt is $14. This is on TeePublic. The other one is on Teespring. If you're reading this, I hate Drake. And it's a pretty funny font. So if you want either one of these shirts, which helps the channel because I get a percentage of these. This is sponsored, the channel. Cult Film Video has been so kind to give me a little bit of a cut here. But he's also a friend, Alan Smithy, which is a name that directors use when they don't want their name on a movie. They'll put the name Alan Smithy. You'll see this in a lot of films. American History X was actually one of those films that did that, because the director always said they changed his vision. So if you're reading this, I Hate Drake and Ben Swifty. If you like either one of these shirts, the link will be in the description. And I think this shirt is unlimited. Yeah, this one's unlimited. The Ben Swifty shirt is only available till Thursday. So if you want this shirt, you only have a few days to get it. So just letting you guys know, but there will be the links there. So thanks, all right? And make sure to give Blue Apron Gang, okay? Blue Apron's only $49.99 a month. That's a good deal. They send you a meal. It's great. Great people. Okay, let's get back to the box office. Book Club, 12.5 million. I think this has like Diane Keaton in it. Jane Fonda. Yeah. A lot of famous actresses. Alicia Silverstone, Andy Garcia. Wallace Shawn. Jesus, there's that My Dinner with Andre connection. Holy shit. He's the one that's having dinner with Andre. They were saying this film was going to open in 20 million from the Friday numbers because it was doing really well, but I guess it didn't hold on very well through the weekend. That opened in 2,700 theaters. So, I don't know dick about this movie. I don't think I'm going to go see this movie or ever talk about it, but okay, the opening weekend is okay. It'll probably have good word of mouth just because the audience that's made for is going to go see it on repeated viewing. Or at least that's my assumption. I like Childish Gambino in 2005. Or 3005. What guy's Ahmad? Who, Frasier? Well, it's because Medicare does his damn streams on Sundays. He has to do this. And we're not competing. I'm not competing with a guy who gets like 10,000 people on his live streams. I'm not even close to competing with that guy. He's doing his own thing. I'd be watching his live stream right now if I wasn't doing one. Show Dogs had bad marketing. Yeah, it did. You remember that movie Snow Dogs with Cuba Gooding Jr.? That was a weird one. I remember seeing that movie. That was out at the same time as Count of Monte Cristo. The Guy Pearce, Jim Caviezel one, which is a movie I actually like, a modern like swashbuckler film I like. But yeah, that's, God, it's weird I remember that. I remember going to the mall theater and those movies being on. Because I think I saw Count of Monte Cristo, but that was like when I was 13. But I believe I saw that movie in theater with my father, and we were both like, oh, that was good. Does the book club get freaky? I would hope so. That would be very sexy. I want to see old Diane Keaton have sex with old Jane Fonda. That's all I've ever been wanting. Well, your audience clearly diverge. Pat, which should I read first? Three Stigmata of Palmer Edric, or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I don't know if it matters which one you should read first. I read whichever one you want to read first. Read the shorter one first, and then read the longer one second, I guess. Knock the shorter book out first. I don't remember how long Android's Dream of Electric Sheep is, isn't it? I've read it a couple times. I can't remember how long it is. But I guess just do that. That's what I do when I get books. I get books every month from thrift books from the internet. So I have like 6 books right now I have to read, and I usually I just got done reading like 3 books. I read in a blink of an eye the editing book, but that's 114 pages. So I read that book first because it was shorter. Then I read Steve Martin's book, The Pleasure of My Company, because that was 175 pages. Then I read Sidney Lumet's book on making movies, and that was 215 pages. So I went from the shortest film to the second, and then the longest. And then the next book I'm going to read is 300 pages, which is Rob Sheffield's book, Talking to Girls About Duran Duran. And then the other book I have is David Mamet's book about making films on directing. I don't know how long that book is, actually. I just got it. I've read the book before, but I wanted to own a copy of it. And Then I'm probably going to be reading some stuff that Blood Money's recommended to me that me and him have been talking about. We've been recommending books to each other. I've been recommending some Clive Barker stuff to him because he wasn't that familiar with Clive Barker. Androids of Dream of Electric Sheep would be my favorite out of the ones listed, but I would say read both. They're both good. Both good books. It's just hard to say which one are you going to read first or not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much that matters. But then I have, yeah, Blood Money recommended some books for me, and I recommended him to read, like, a Magica and a few Clive Barker books, but I can't remember. I wrote down the authors he gave me, but there's a few authors he gave me to read. Because me and him bond over a lot of books. We're both big Cormac McCarthy fans and Philip Roth fans, and we'd bitch about Infinite Jest and David Foster Wallace. We bitch about a lot of the same. We're both big Thomas Pynchon fans, or Pynchon. I've heard people say it differently. We both like Elmore Leonard. We both read a lot of Elmore Leonard. We talk about Joe Lansdale. I think is one of the most underrated American authors. He's a wonderful man that I met from East Texas, and I'm like a big John Irving fan. We kind of disagree on that, but we've been recommending some books to each other, so I got to read that. But I've been really into reading Rob Sheffield's book. His book Love is a Mixtape is wonderful. And I just got to, I'm starting to read as Talking to Girls About Duran Duran. He was a writer for Rolling Stone. You might have seen him on VH1, I Love the 80s and stuff like that, but he's a really funny writer. He kind of writes these memoirs that are really, really good. And honestly, I found out Steve Martin was a good writer. I read his book, Born Standing Up, and it was great. And then I read his other book, The Pleasure of My Company, Larry, so I'm going to get his book, Shop Girl. Steve Martin's, I mean, I liked Roxanne and L.A. Story and movies he's written, but I didn't know Steve Martin was such a good novelist. He writes really good books. And he's a big influence on me. You know, I was about to say Joe Lansdale is the ish. The question was more leaning on the second question, but thanks for answering both. Frankly, Pat should unmod me. Why? Your opinion on the Freddie Mercury trailer. I think it's a very well-edited trailer. I think it's very well put together. We don't get much of the story or the other actors, but as far as editing, syncing the music up to the images, and the cutting of the trailer, it's fantastic. It's honestly one of the best edited trailers I've seen in the last few years. The actual cutting of that trailer is terrific. It's much better done than most trailers. It doesn't just do that crappy fade to black thing and put a bunch of confusing scenes together. They do a great job in that trailer of transitioning from song to song. Does he see the precipice he stands on? Why does Sharkfoot keep appearing in other movies? That's why Kylo Show is so slow. Mainly, we have only done Kylo Show because he's been busy. Yeah, I know he's in the new Spike Lee film, isn't he? And a couple other films. He's in Black Klansman. But we are going to work on Kylo Show 3 and 4. Though the editing's great. The editing's really impressive on that trailer. I don't know if the movie will be good. It looks fun. Bryan Singer made most of it. He made like 60% of the trailer. I mean, the movie. And then he like quit showing up. And there was that point that Sacha Baron Cohen was going to play Freddie Mercury, but the Mr. Robot guy looks like Freddie Mercury. I mean, he looks like he's doing a really good job. Have watched the Westworld TV show. Yes, I've watched Westworld. I didn't like it much either. I find it very slow and kind of up its own ass. It's not as, I don't know how so many people love it and think it's like one of the best shows on right now. I'm just confused by that. I think Westworld's a mess. It has some good actors, don't get me wrong. Ed Harris obviously is a good actor. I mean, there's good acting and it's beautiful. It looks like an expensive television show. It's gorgeous. I mean, the actual visuals are amazing, but I think the writing is it's like a generic network show that just is on HBO. Like, if it was on ABC or something, I might give it more of a pass, but it's on HBO. So I expect a little bit more. I mean, it feels like watching one of those big high-concept ABC shows or something like that. It doesn't feel like it's up to the standard of what a big-budget HBO show was. And I think they could do a lot more with the concept. I liked the pilot of the first season, and I liked like 1 or 2 other episodes. This season so far I have found just to be a drag, man. It's been like so boring. And I hate to use that as a criticism, like, oh, something's boring, it's laborious, it's slow. because it seems lazy, but it's just there's a lack of momentum. And I know HBO's always kind of done that. HBO's always kind of like dragged their shows on. All their shows have always kind of been slow and had pacing issues, but Westworld's it's a weird thing, because it's weird watching a show that clearly has so much work put into the production values and the special effects and the design, but like there's something missing in the characterization and the depth and the dialogue and all that. There's just something missing for me. But Pat, the whole point of Westworld is to have as much nudity on screen. I mean, HBO does love that. They do love their nudity. I don't think I'll ever be on the High Council. I don't see that happening. I get this vibe that those people don't like me. I don't know why. I get this weird vibe. A lot of people don't like me right now. I don't think everyone's aware of my YouTube channel, but the people who are seem to not like me. I missed your opinion on Deadpool. I'm saving that for my review of Deadpool 2. I don't want to waste that here. I might do a live stream or spoiler review of Deadpool 2, or we can all talk about it, but that's for another day. We're going to be talking about the box office of Deadpool 2 today, though. All right, let's look at Avengers Infinity War, which has made $300 million in China so far. It made $28.6 million this weekend, 53% drop. It's at $595 million. It should be able to pass the first Avengers, which made $623 million. I don't know if it'll reach the $700 million that Black Panther did, but having said that, the film is an international hit all across the board. $1,218 million there. So far, Infinity War has made $1,813 million worldwide. This film is a mega hit, even with its $300 million budget. I don't know if it'll make $2 billion. It made $84 million this weekend, and it should wrap up in China very soon, so I'm not sure. I think it'll definitely make, 1.9. I don't know if it'll cross the $2 billion mark. It really depends on how well it does next weekend. Memorial Day weekend is going to be very important to all these films. It's going to be important to Deadpool. It's going to be important to Solo, obviously, and this movie. They really need to boost that weekend to put them over the top, because even though Deadpool underperformed on opening weekend, at least against its expectations, it can make up for a lot of that with a huge second weekend. If it does huge next weekend, and Infinity War could get a huge boost next weekend with the holiday weekend that could help it carry over and maybe cross that $2 billion mark. So it's tough to call right now. But Infinity War's already made enough money to be a massive hit. It's one of the highest grossing films of all time worldwide. It's the most successful superhero film of all time worldwide. They've already said that they're going to make at least $500 million in net profit off this, especially because it made so much money early, which studios want that. They make more profit early on with the ticket percentages than they do later on. So the fact this movie's made so much money so quickly, I mean, think about this. This has been out, what, a month? It's been out a month and it's almost made $2 billion. That's insane. It's not like it slowly made that money like Avatar did, or this is making its money very quickly. It's behind Force Awakens. It's behind Black Panther right now. But still, internationally, this actually has surpassed Force Awakens and Black Panther and several other films. This is one of the best international performances of all time. The only other films that I think have done this well internationally are Avatar and the Fast and Furious franchise, the last two movies at least. And not much else. Not much stuff's made $1.2 billion. Titanic, I guess, but yeah, not much stuff has ever made over. A few films have made over $1 billion internationally, but few have done like 1.1, 1.2. So this is a major success all around by the Russo brothers, Kevin Feige and Marvel. Good weekend. 28 million's a bigger drop than last weekend, where I think it made 61 million, but that probably had a lot to do with Deadpool 2. If Deadpool 2 hadn't come out, I think the movie would have probably made 35, 40 million this weekend, but you have to think a lot of the audience who sees Infinity War also goes to see Deadpool. Yes, of course, Bathory has always been an SJW. That's why I made her a moderator, to keep the balance. Freddie Mercury wasn't straight. He was bisexual. He wasn't actually just gay, as some people think he was. He actually had a relationship with a woman. I believe he was going to get married to a woman. That's what some people always think. I always hear a lot of people say he was gay, but it's actually not true. He was bi. I mean, he was gay. He liked men, but he liked men and women. Freddie Mercury had sex with a lot of women. Which is weird because back in the day, people didn't know he was gay, but now everyone thinks he's gay and they don't know he's bisexual. So everyone's just confused. I guess nobody reads about Freddie Mercury beyond the surface level perceptions. Thoughts on Jurassic World's change to Jurassic Park the ride? I don't like it. I hate the Jurassic Park ride at Universal, so I'm up for any change. I think that ride sucks. Excluding the part with the T-Rex at the end. When I rode that ride, that was like the Jaws ride where people are upset about that. The Jaws ride sucks. Like you could tell the shark was this animatronic. It looked like a ride from like the late 80s. It just felt dated. The Jurassic Park ride, I was very disappointed. Is it fun? Like, yeah, it's fun at the beginning. Like, you go on the raft and you're going through and you see the animatronic dinosaurs and you're like, this is cool. But it just needs updated, quite frankly. They need to update the whole thing. Honestly, I would prefer to be on that raft wearing like a VR 3D headset or something and seeing the dinosaurs come around, because it just doesn't, those animatronic rides like the ET ride and that ride, and when they had the Jaws ride, it just felt too quiche. It just felt too cheeky. Like the girl shoots a grenade launcher, the person you're in the boat with shoots a grenade launcher shark, and the sharks pop up and they splash water on you, and it just looks like crap. I mean, it looks really bad. And the Jurassic Park ride, for the majority of it, it just looks really lame. I mean, it looks like these really fake... I mean, I know they're not real dinosaurs, but they look bad. They don't look very good. And they're just there, and you see the raptors, and they're screaming at you, and it's kind of fun, but like not much happens on the ride. It's pretty uneventful, excluding the T-Rex part. The T-Rex part is the shit. You go through the whole ride, and you're like, okay. See, my biggest issue with the ride is they don't use lighting very well, and that's why the T-Rex part works so well. Most of the ride, you're out in the daylight, and you see the stuff underneath the dinosaurs that kind of shows you that it's, that you see that it's being moved on a platform. When you get to that last section, where you're basically going through like a series of dark tunnels and stuff like that, because of that, you can't see the floor, and that lets you buy into it a little bit more, and they use shadow. So the last part, well, I know they're not real. They just don't look good either. They don't look good for fake dinosaurs. Like, there's other stuff at Universal. Rides have updated since these rides were made. Like, if you go ride the Harry Potter ride, it's amazing. You know, if you're on there and you go through and the glasses and all that, the Spider-Man ride's amazing. Like, they've changed rides. We have VR now, too. And the newer rides feel great. Like, the Men in Black ride suffered from that. It felt very dated. And that's an issue with some of these old rides. I'm sure back in the day that was amazing, seeing like that stuff. But now it just, in the modern day with new technology, it just feels like outdated. That's a big reason they have to change these things. But when you get to the final part and you're all in shadow and stuff, you can buy the illusion more. And you go to this last stretch and a freaking T-Rex walks out and it looks fucking real. It looks like you're looking at a real goddamn T-Rex. I mean, it scared the shit out of me. It looks amazing. And it's far away from you, too. Like, when it first starts walking out, you just hear it. You hear it roaring, and then you see it slowly poke its head out of the shadows, and you're like, oh my god. Like, no, 10 out of 10 effect. The illusion totally works then. It's like a fucking magic trick. And you're like, wow, this is how they pulled off some of those scenes in the movie. That looks great. And when it walks out, I mean, it's scary. It looks like there's an actual fucking T-Rex there. It's freaky. And then it goes to bite you, and right when it's about to like grab you, you go under its legs, and then you go down, and it's like a ride, and you get splashed with water. But I think if they could update that stuff, and add more of an illusion to a lot of the stuff, and maybe do VR. But I would still like to be on the raft. I just like to be on the raft, and maybe, because when you go like play an arcade game, those arcade games where you get in the car and you shut the curtains, and you're in like a Jurassic Park or one of they have a lot of games like this, but you're like in a shooter, and you're shooting, and you're in that car. Part of the reason they put you in that dark car and stuff is to create the atmosphere. You're in a dark thing that's locked up, so it creates this dark, scary atmosphere. The problem with the Jurassic Park ride is so much of it's out in the daylight, it just makes everything look really cheap and fake. That's the problem with the Jaws ride. But when you're in a dark setting, the illusion sells a lot better, and it creates atmosphere. And that's what they need to do. They need to fix the lighting and the way it's set up to make it sell a little bit better. Because I do think it's a great concept, a Jurassic Park ride with the animatronics. but there it just needs to be fixed. It's just more of like, oh, that's cute, when it could be legitimately thrilling. It could be a legitimately thrilling thing. Yeah, nighttime, right? It would be so much better at nighttime. But Universal, everything closes like early. But yeah, it would be at nighttime. That ride would be awesome. But when you're doing it like when the sun's out, I mean, you're in freaking Florida or California. It's just like, it sucks when you see the thing underneath them in the water, like the Jaws ride. That really takes you out of it. Is that you see them being moved and all that stuff. Like that doesn't really. The cool thing about the T-Rex is you don't see what's moving it. You just see the T-Rex in the shadows far off, so you're kind of like, oh, that's really cool. And you can buy it a little bit more, but you can't do that when you're seeing how the thing's being moved and stuff like that. That just makes you like... Because I get that they're not real and they don't look real, but there's still a way you can make the illusion work despite that. That's part of how movies are. But that's the magic of movies, is they can do that and then put a camera up and manipulate you. They don't have any cameras there, so they have to try a little bit harder. But I've seen other rides do that stuff and pull it off even better than that. Like, there's this great alien ride. Well, not ride, it's like an experience they have in some places where you go through as like a marine, basically, and you go through aliens. And you never actually see a xenomorph, like, come out front, but they have it coming out of the walls and stuff. Like, you'll walk by a wall and a xenomorph will poke its hand through or something, or you'll see a tail coming through the ceiling and stuff like that. There's ways to do it like a good haunted house where you don't totally see everything, and that makes you... The countdown intercom makes the T-Rex encounter. It does. It really does. The T-Rex part's great. That part really got... I don't know if there's any signs that they hate me. It's just I don't think they give a shit about. They seem to only bring people on if it benefits them. Like Razor Fist has 100,000 subscribers. Mauler has 40,000 subscribers. Captain Cummings has 20,000 subscribers. I think you have to have more subs than them to get invited on it. I don't know if they care about the content or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't think they hate me. I know they're aware of me, at least on some level, but I just don't think they, but I don't think they, even if they did know, I don't think they would have me on. Like, even if they watched my Last Jedi videos, which got a lot of hits, by the way. My Rose video has 278,000 hits. And my Luke video has 65,000 hits. My Snoke video has 60-something thousand hits. My Finn video has 60,000 hits. You know, they all have a lot of hits. I don't think they would still have me on anyway. I think they need a benefit, because they need to think having this guy on is going to get people to watch this because he has a sub count. Even though I don't think many people... I'm a big Captain Cummings fan, but his videos on average only get about 2,000 hits. Even though he has about 20,000 subscribers, he doesn't really get the views to match his sub count, which is fine. I'm not criticizing him for that. I just don't think he has a huge audience. I'm a fan of his stuff. I watch his videos, talk to him on DMs a lot. I really like him. But, you know, having Razor Fist on, that'll get people to watch. Having Mauler on, that'll get people to watch. I don't think there's a lot of benefit to me being on a live stream. Despite entertainment value, I think I could make a very entertaining addition to a live stream. But I think the way they're thinking about it is, well, we get a lot of hits on our videos, and they get a lot of hits on their podcast. They'll get 10,000 hits on a 2-hour podcast. And they're probably thinking, well, we need to get people on here that can help that. Not necessarily what makes an interesting conversation, even though the people they've gotten on have been interesting conversation. I don't think they care about that as much as they care about what do people want. How do we appeal to fans and appeal to people who are following this stuff on YouTube? Even though my videos, technically, my Last Jedi videos have more hits than I mean, my videos, I mean, I don't have Mauler's Rage video, but my hits are about the same as Mauler's on some of his, so I don't know. My hits are about as many people have watched me complain about Last Jedi and Star Wars as most of those other guys. I would definitely be able to talk about the box office more than... I don't know anyone on YouTube who knows as much about the box office as I do, or goes as in-depth as I do. But if there is somebody I don't know, I haven't seen it. But I don't think anyone's as obsessed with it as I am. Most people, I think, do it because it's something that can get people watching it. I was always into it as a hobby, even going back when I was a kid. That's an awesome idea. That sounds cool, Madcap. Yeah, it's been it's been a crazy discussion. Hateful Eight, Deadpool, Jurassic Park. But that's why you come to Box Office Addict. It's never about the box office. It's about everything else except the box office. Which is, I guess, kind of beautiful in its own way. I feel like I have to give money for Ethan to answer my questions. I mean, probably. I mean, they're pretty big, man. I mean, they got like 33,000 subs, and their videos on average get 20,000 hits, and they get a lot of people watch the show. They probably just have so many people ask questions. If they answered everyone's questions, you know, you guys got to think. I can talk to all of you because only like the most people that ever show up in here are 6. I think we had 100 people one time. If there was 1,000 people in this chat trying to ask me questions, there's no way I could answer 1,000 questions. There's just no way. I couldn't read that many. So you have to think about it that way. It's tough. I'm sure when they were smaller, it was easier, but they're bigger now, so there's just too many. You can't read the chat on live streams when you have more than 1,000 people watching. It's just way too difficult. Okay. The Wildlife podcast where he loves the box office. You might catch the super chats. Well, that's what really starts happening is you get so many people talking that you need. Super chats provides that where you can see someone's question and they pay you for it, but you can read it easier that way. Because if you got a chat that's running up like 500 questions, it's hard to go through. It's just really tough. I don't have that issue. That's why I like doing the shows, because I get to talk to you guys and answer. This is as awesome as it could be, because it's like having a conversation with a bunch of people. But when you have so many people watching, you don't get that anymore. That's why a lot of live streams, they bring in other people, because then they have someone to talk to. Because if your chat's crowded, it's really hard to focus. It's too many things. There's too many things going on. I mean, it just goes by super fast. And, you know, people in the chat don't even talk to each other. They're all just trying to talk to the person talking. And you lose that communication. You have this more intimate setting like you have with this when you have a smaller live stream going on. You can have an intimate conversation with people. And that's really great. And I've heard people complain about this who live stream, who get big, is that they miss the early days, because in the early days they could connect with the audience and talk to people in the chat. And then once their live stream got popular, they couldn't do that anymore, and then it kind of lost what made them really enjoy it, and then they felt like they're performing more so. So that's why people bring it up. See, I don't need anyone else to talk to. I can just talk to you guys. But if more people were here, that would be very tough to do. Oh, you're going to meet Goku. That's awesome. That's awesome, dude. I love Goku. I want 2,000 people in here. Be more intimate, be more personal on Patreon. I mean, I would like that too, because I'd be making money. If there was 2,000 people in here, I'd be making a lot of money. Yeah, that's the problem too. You get a lot of spam. That's very true, Funny. Unfortunately, when you get like over 1,000 people in a chat, half the people, if not more, are just saying nothing. They're just spamming and writing like cringe stuff, or they're just trying to like. Basically, they're trying to get noticed because so many people are typing. They're trying to write anything they're gonna, but people aren't actually saying anything. And I hate that. I hate the crowded chats. I hate being in them. Like Medicare's cats. Like I go to his cast sometimes, and it's terrible. There's like 5,000 people talking, and it's all spam. You can't have a conversation with anybody in the chat, and it just kind of gets frozen up. Of course, I've seen Dragon Ball Abridged. Yeah, of course. Big fan. Team 4-star, of course. But when you have a chat like this, it's cool because you can actually have discussions with people, and I really like that. I'd hate if I lost that, but that's what happens when you get bigger, is you lose that intimacy. It just becomes you talking. It just becomes you basically reading super chats, and most of them kind of suck. You usually get really crappy questions from super chats. That's why people really waste super chats on big channels. Because most of the time, they never ask the question that you want someone to actually ask. That would be an interesting question. But that's like when you go to a live Q&A for some interview, people never ask a good question. Disney and SJW shills get in these too. They don't understand it can help interaction when they troll the chat. It only helps interaction when they troll the chat. Sorry. I don't like trolling in chats. I get that it can help, but I don't like when people just go to chats to troll. I think it's counterproductive to the quality Like, I think something's so much better when you can have arguments with substance. And I don't know if that, you know, well, those guys are just great at editing. How they edit the video and put it together is just great. And their voices. I'm about to rock you like a hurricane. I love the Vegeta guy. He does such a great job. Let me ask you, has a machine like yourself ever experienced fear? Which is a badass line, by the way. Has a machine like yourself ever experienced fear? That's a cool freaking line. Vegeta fucks shit up. I think that's the line. Has a machine like yourself ever experienced fear? That's one of my favorite lines in DBZ. It's so awesome. Kakarot. Damn you, Kakarot. It's, but I love how he does Goku. He does Goku. He's making him sound even dumber than he already is, which is hilarious. All right, let's get to the Box Office Addict film of the week, which is Deadpool 2. I'm sure you do get a lot of people trolling. Yeah, I have no doubt about it. Oh, yeah, Vegeta's voice is awesome. You didn't miss much, Kevin. Oh, I don't know if he does both. I was just saying I like the guy's voice. I don't know if he does. I don't know how many of them do. I think there's like, isn't there like a few, like only 4 guys who do all the voices? I'm not sure how many do them. Oh no, the song too, Vegeta's song, that piano theme, that, I know you're talking about Team 4-Star, but I'm talking about DBZ, the original. That fucking, that song is so badass. Like, maybe one day we'll watch it. Crazy. Sorry. Get your name mixed up. All right, Deadpool 2. So, the projections were saying 150 million, if not higher. Now, this is why people thought this. The original Deadpool opened to $132 million, which was way above expectations. The expectation for the original Deadpool was somewhere in the $65 million range. Then it went up to $95 million. Then they just didn't know. I remember at the time reading, people were saying, well, it at least will break 100 million, but we don't know how it'll go. Then Deadpool blew all expectations. A lot of that had to do with great marketing. And Deadpool 2 had great marketing. Let me not knock that. The marketing for both Deadpool movies is exceptional. It's original. It's inspired. It knew how to use social media. It knew how to cover several demographics. A lot of women like Deadpool. Also, Deadpool as a character has remained relevant despite not having a movie made for years. Here's the weird thing. If you went to the store, even before the Deadpool movie, there was always Deadpool shirts. There was always Deadpool wallets. There was always people buying Deadpool merchandise. I saw Deadpool merchandise all throughout the 2000s, and girls like Deadpool. He's one of those characters. A lot of women went to go see the first Deadpool. It wasn't just men. It was men and women going together. And women have always liked Deadpool. For some reason, I'm not sure why. Women don't show up this way for like Spider-Man or Captain America or Superman the same way, but women show up for Deadpool. And it was weird they didn't make a Deadpool movie, because here's the thing, Marvel owns the merchandising rights. So for years, Marvel was making money off this character that Fox owned the movie rights for. So Fox is making no money over the last decade on Deadpool. Meanwhile, Marvel was making $1 billion in revenue from shirts and backpacks and all that stuff. I mean, Deadpool shit sold. I saw that Deadpool beanie everywhere, and that was years before the movie came out. Deadpool is like a character that was somehow able to capture normies. You did not have to be a comic book fan to know who Deadpool was. For some reason, he was able to translate, you know, Rob Liefeld's Deadpool from the 90s was somehow able to keep relevant and translate into normie world. It was never, people would be into Deadpool who never read a comic book, or they only read Deadpool comic books. And they would talk about Deadpool. I mean, this up for years for me. I mean, it became a meme for me. It became so annoying, as I would talk about comic books with people, or meet people, and they would always only bring up Deadpool. And I mean, and once again, this was before the movie came out. Yeah. I mean, I don't accuse you of trolling. I don't think I've ever accused you of trolling. I've called you annoying, but that's just my perception that I've been annoyed by you before, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're trolling. I mean, people say trolling, man. It's just one of those things. People say it. Or baiting. They think you're trying to bait. You know, it's just being confrontational. You know, you get in text, it's hard to tell people's context because there's no inflections or anything. So people just read the text and they think somebody's being an asshole on purpose because they read it in a negative way and they don't know how the person's meaning it. And that's very tough for a lot of people. So they just go, "Oh, you're trolling." You know, I see people do that. I don't try to do that. I don't try to say people are just trolling. Did anyone else have that experience with Deadpool? Where you would be like, you would meet people and that's the only character they would talk about. Me and my buddy Todd used to bitch about this all the time. Like we would hang out, we'd be hanging out somewhere and we were like, he was actually into Aquaman and I was into Green Lantern and we were both into The Question. Well, and I didn't ban you. I don't ban people here. I think they more wanted to ban you because they wanted the conversation to move on and they were getting tired of it because it had no interest to them. So I think that's why they wanted you banned. I don't think it's because they disliked you. I think it was just more they were sick of the conversation because it went on for like 15 minutes and I think they didn't come to the show to listen to us have a conversation separately. So I think that was the reasoning behind that, was they were like, Jesus Christ, just get rid of this guy so you could talk about something we have interest in because we don't give a shit about this conversation. And I have a problem where I go on tangents sometimes and get on topics that people don't like. I did that once with Arnold Schwarzenegger versus The Rock. I had a debate with somebody on here once for like 20 minutes and everyone in the chat just got sick of it. And they're like, Jesus Christ, Pat. You know? And it's just easier for them to go, well, hey, just ban someone. Because I can't get banned. There's nothing you can do about me. But if you got banned, then the conversation wouldn't go on anymore. Because, you know, if I want to talk about something, I'm going to keep talking about it. But that was the weird thing for me. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that was the reasoning people had. I'm not saying that's your fault. But that's how people are. I mean, you know, for them, they're thinking, I come to the show to get entertainment and I listen to you all the time. And maybe they just didn't like you. I mean, maybe they didn't like how you were talking. And they didn't like you in the chat, so maybe they thought that the chat got affected by the vibe of the chat got affected by your attitude. You know, because they come here every week and they're a regular audience, and you're kind of new to the chat from what I know. So maybe you were affecting how other people felt. And ruining the experience for them. So, you know, because they come here to listen to me, and they like me, they maybe just didn't like what you were saying. Who knows? That's the thinking behind it, I guess. But yeah, this happened to me, like, so much, where I would do 7 people comment, and it happened with girls all the time, but I had to just throw out normie. I know that's just, like, become overused. But you'll hang out with someone, they're like, you know, I really like Deadpool, and they'll bring up every Deadpool comic from like the 2000s and they keep talking to you about Deadpool. And I mean, I hated these people. It happened so much. I own this shop and so many college kids would come in and they only wanted to talk about Deadpool. Even my freaking tattoo artist, all he would do is sit there for an hour and talk to me about Deadpool. And I would try to talk about another character. Like, can we talk about like The Question or something? Can we talk about like Green Arrow? Can we talk about... But it was always, nope, we got to talk about Deadpool. We gotta talk about Deadpool. And that's all they know. And they think Deadpool's the most funny thing ever. They think Deadpool's the coolest guy ever. And they just want to go on and on about Deadpool. And then it was like, oh, I mean, I wish I could just like recreate these experiences where people are always talking about Deadpool. And they're trying to explain Deadpool to me. Like I don't know who Deadpool is, or like it's this amazing thing, or like they first discovered Deadpool, like it's fucking Nirvana or something, and it's the 90s again, like, oh my god, I just discovered Deadpool, even though Deadpool's been around forever. And they just go on and on. I mean, they drown you out, and the people I meet who are obsessed with Deadpool kind of drive me crazy. Because I generally find a lot of people that love Deadpool don't care about comics or other comic books, they just care about Deadpool. And they think Deadpool's like the only thing, and they think that as a comic book fan, you're supposed to love Deadpool. And like, they don't realize that a lot of comic book fans were split on Deadpool. There's a big group of people that don't like Deadpool. I'm not a big Deadpool fan. And they assume that you just think Deadpool's the greatest thing ever. And they always take, there's this comic where Deadpool kills everyone in the Marvel Universe. It's called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. And then they go about telling you the plot. They go about telling you the story and all this cool stuff. And I'm like, oh, come on. You know, and I mean, it's just so annoying. What movie should I see, Avengers or Deadpool 2? Go see Avengers. So you can be part of the zeitgeist with that movie. While it's out. It's similar in the nature that way all normies love Harley Quinn. Yes, it is similar to Harley Quinn. That there's all these girls that go to Comic-Cons that dress up as Harley Quinn. And they all love Harley Quinn. And they all saw, like, because they watched the cartoon. They saw Batman the Animated Series. And they're like, Mr. J? And they love Harley Quinn. And that's all they want to talk to you about is Harley Quinn or Deadpool. It's the same group. The same girls who dress up as Harley Quinn all own Deadpool shit. And everybody who loves Deadpool typically loves Harley Quinn. It's this weird thing where they think Harley Quinn's the best thing ever. And they honestly know more about Harley Quinn than they do the Joker. Or like Clayface or anything like that. The Penguin, what have you. They're obsessed with Harley Quinn. I don't know if it's an aesthetic. I think these people are aesthetic based. Like, Harley Quinn looks cool to them, so they like Harley Quinn. Maybe it ties into the Hot Topic thing a little bit in the 2000s. And, oh yeah, the animated series is amazing. And, or maybe, like, Deadpool, his aesthetic is really cool, even though he basically kind of looks like Spider-Man. But I find these people a lot in my life where they just want to talk to me about the character of Deadpool or Harley Quinn. And it's very normie, and they don't know anything about comic books or superhero mythology or any of the history, which, fine, you don't have to. I'm not like shitting on you if you don't read comic books. But it was so annoying to me because I do read comic books, you know, a lot, and these people would find out, like, it's like when people find out I'm into movies, and it's happened to me all the time where someone's like, "Man, you like movies? Did you like Jurassic World?" And they want to talk about Jurassic World, or they find out I like TV and they want to talk to me about Walking Dead or some shitty show that I hate. And they want to have this, like, serious conversation, and they think they're making this really in-depth point, this, like, profound point about a show, and they're saying the most generic shit you've ever heard, and they're going on and on. It's kind of like people who read Harry Potter, and they think it's the best thing ever, and they only read Harry Potter, and they only talk about Harry Potter, and they think and they compare everything to Harry Potter, like, everything that relates to them with politics is Harry Potter. Like, it's a weird thing with some people. I mean, I'm impressed that there's a way to translate stuff like that you can make something mainstream like that. Like how Deadpool's able to be so popular and branch out. Harley Quinn is the Bellatrix to Voldemort in Batman, but feminists and fans treat Harley like a strong female character, but the character is designed as a psychopath. Oh yeah, no, normies love Walking Dead, and they think, like, that's high art drama. They think it's amazing. We talk about Tampopo. Maybe later. But so many times in my life, I've just ran into people where, yeah, they want to talk about those two characters. And it drives me crazy. Just on and on and on. I met a girl just like Harley Quinn. It was extremely awkward. I found out that might be how women can translate their bad girls. So, oh, definitely, for sure. There's definitely something with that aspect to it. That they want to be this girl that has Stockholm Syndrome. And with Deadpool, I think that they think that if they like Deadpool, they understand comics or they understand the humor of it. And they're like, it's funny because Deadpool knows he's in a comic book. It's almost like they think they're in on the joke. And I've said they're honestly some of the most annoying people I've met are people in their 20s that only want to talk about Deadpool. It's some of the most annoying, worst conversations I've ever had. Or when they talk about, I mean, anything. When they want to talk about the Transformers movie or Marvel films. Even though I like Marvel films, but they want to talk to you about it. And when you start criticizing things about, like, I had this when Age of Ultron came out. I started saying, like, well, this sucked about the movie and this didn't work with Ultron. And they're like, oh, man, Ultron was a great character. Come on. Or a lot of Star Wars fans are that way. A lot of people who just love the brand Star Wars and they don't actually get why Empire Strikes Back's a really good movie. They just love Star Wars, all of it. And they think all of it's amazing and you should be obsessed with all of it. And that stuff, it's some of the most cringe moments of my life. I really can't deal with it. And I'm not trying to act like, oh, I'm better than you. I'm a hipster. I know more about these things than you. But when you are a fan of movies and comics and books, and when you're really geek, when you're into that stuff, you don't want to just have those boring, banal conversations about shit that you're so past. You're like, God, there's nothing I want to say about Deadpool. And then the movie came out and it just got worse, obviously. I definitely think putting Deadpool with Spider-Man would be a good idea. I think that would be a really, really good idea. I think those two characters make the most sense together. I think a Deadpool Spider-Man movie would be $1 billion movie. Guaranteed. So yeah, I think that's what Marvel should do. If they're going to put Deadpool in an MCU film, the character that makes the most sense is Spider-Man. Will Thanos Brolin make Deadpool immortal so Hela won't cheat on him? With Ryan Reynolds. We'll have to wait and see. We don't know. Now that Deadpool's owned by Disney, anything could happen. What are the best... Oh, sorry, Green comic books, Green Lantern comic books. I mean, there's so many, man. I mean, Blackest Night's obviously the modern famous one. There's a great Green Arrow run, actually. God, I can't remember the name of the run. I think it's only like a 4-8 issue series, but it's absolutely phenomenal. It's an older Green Arrow, too. Lando Calrissian is pansexual now. Nothing is sacred to these freaks. Deadpool and Black Widow, that sounds boring. What the hell would I want to see the most boring character in Marvel be with Deadpool? Like, that's the worst choice out of anyone in the MCU to be in a Deadpool movie. Oh, wait, I get your joke, because they used to be married? Is that what you're saying? I didn't think about that. They got divorced. Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds was married. Okay, that would be funny. And then Deadpool would acknowledge the fact that she was married to Ryan Reynolds. I could get behind that. Oh, that's hilarious. They included Deadpool reviews in the Solo reviews. That's funny shit. That's almost like a Deadpool thing, honestly. That there's Deadpool reviews for a Star Wars movie. So, Deadpool opened $132 million. It overperformed. Nobody thought it would do that well. It went on to make $363 million domestically. And worldwide, I think it made $783 million. I think it made like $420 million. I believe that was the numbers. I'm usually pretty correct on this. We'll check in a minute, though. So Deadpool 1 almost made $800 million worldwide on a budget of $58 million. Right? So the profit on that film was like $400 million net profit for Fox. So of course everybody thought Deadpool 2 was going to open huge. Now, the smart thing they did with this was they kept the budget relatively low, at least for a big tentpole movie. $110 million isn't a big budget. That's a much lower budget than like Black Panther, Infinity War. Wonder Woman's budget was bigger than that. I mean, and Wonder Woman had a pretty modest budget for a superhero film. So really, that's a modest budget because they could have gotten more. But I know that Ryan Reynolds and them didn't want to have a bigger budget. They wanted to keep it low. They didn't want to be... Because this movie, they could have got $150 million for it after the first movie. It would have been expected even that they would get $150 million. I was hearing rumors around 120, but I guess 110 is the final budget. So even with marketing, which I'm sure they spent $100 million on because they did a lot of marketing. The opening weekend for Deadpool 2, when the weekend was going in, it made $53 million on Friday. So a lot of people were saying it was going to do better than the first one. Because the first one's opening Friday was $47 million. But here's what happened. On Saturday, Deadpool 2 had a pretty steep drop and went to $40 million. So the estimates for Sunday are around $31 million. So currently it's the second highest opening weekend for an R-rated film. If it goes lower than this, it'll fall below It, where It made $123 million. I don't assume that'll happen. I think it'll stay around here, and if it does go lower, I think it'll be 124, or it'll go up to 126, 127. Sunday might be better. But there is something to say about this. Even though this opening weekend is lower than the first Deadpool, and I think it's safe to say this film will not perform as well as the first Deadpool domestically. Internationally is a different story. Domestically, I don't think this will make $363 million like the first one. I don't think the word of mouth is as good on this movie. I don't think there's as much hype. I don't think the Deadpool concept is as fresh as it was when the first one came out. And also, I think this movie's more dense with different things, where the first one was pretty focused on the highway sequence, and it was a small movie. and his relationship with his girlfriend, and I think that kind of connected people to it. This film's got like a first 30 minutes and then a completely separate middle section and then a whole other third. I mean, the movie keeps changing what it is. I'm not complaining about that, but it's a different kind of movie, and the humor's, there's a lot more meta humor. There's a lot more humor about movies and comic books. I mean, there's a Rob Liefeld joke about how somebody who can't draw feet. Now, does an average moviegoer get that joke? I don't know. I don't think so. You kind of have to know Rob Liefeld to get that joke. And there's a lot of jokes like that in Deadpool 2. Where Deadpool 1, the jokes kind of were more universal, I felt. And I think that sold a lot more with the audiences. Now here's the thing. $125 million opening weekend is still great. That's still a great opening weekend. But you could say this does put a little bit of a hit on the Deadpool franchise because sequels typically, superhero films, perform better on opening weekend. Iron Man 2 had a better opening weekend. Winter Soldier had a better opening weekend. Thor: The Dark World had a better opening weekend. And the third films in those movies all had better opening weekends. Spider-Man, 3 had a better... Not Spider-Man 2, though, but typically modern superhero films. Dark Knight had a better opening weekend than Batman Begins. Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, most sequels, the second film, especially for a loved film, Deadpool was loved. It was super loved. Audiences, so I don't know exactly what all factors led to this film underperforming in this way, because it really is a film that should have opened to $60 million on Friday. It's really a film that should have made $150 million opening weekend. I mean, it really should have. I mean, if you factor in how many people loved Deadpool and how successful the first one was, the second film should have opened higher. And it opened below the original film. And that's a weird thing. Now, still, this film still opened better than Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming. But I thought it would open more like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the first film making $94 million. Second one's opening weekend, $146 million. My guess would have been $145 million. That's what I would have thought this would have come in, like 140 to 150. But I wasn't thinking it was going to crack 150, but I thought going into the weekend, I would have guessed like 143 million would have been my guess for Deadpool 2. This is weird. This is weird because we don't really know why this opened less, because the reviews were about as good as the first movie. The trailers and all the social media hype seemed about as much for the first movie. Maybe it was the time of release. Maybe it was, didn't the first Deadpool come out around Valentine's Day, February, I think? Maybe it was the time they released it. I don't really know why this opened lower than the first one. I'm not really sure. Maybe people weren't as into the trailers. Maybe they weren't as into cable as they were into the first movie's trailers, where it's the jokes hit a little bit better. I'm really confused by this. I really honestly thought Deadpool 2 would open higher than Deadpool 1, and people are going to be debating the reasons why. Also, it's probably not going to make as much money as Deadpool 1 domestically. Maybe it was a weather thing. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm trying to think. I think it had to do with people seeing Infinity War. Possibly Infinity War might have kind of knocked the wind out of this movie. Yeah, I think the Valentine's Day thing helped. I think couples went to go see Deadpool 1. And they got a lot of women to show up. I don't know if releasing it during summertime was as good for the marketing and release date. I'm not sure. Maybe this would have played better in like August or something. But still, once again, $125 million. Also, you have to factor in the budget only being $110 million. So this film's, going to make money. Also, the international performance was great. The film opened to $176 million internationally, so it's already made $300 million worldwide on a $110 million budget. So the film's pretty close to breaking even if it already hasn't broke even, but we have to include marketing, so I'm going to say no, because I'm sure they spent $100 million. So they probably have about $215 million in this movie, but it's going to break even, and a $300 million worldwide opening is amazing. So even though the opening weekend domestically didn't reach it, internationally it did perform better than the first Deadpool. So if this film, and it does feel like an international movie, so if this film can make $400 million foreign box office, if not more, 450, 500 million, and domestically, let's say it makes like, around 300, roughly. It might make a little less. It could end at 290, but let's say it makes 300. You're looking at a movie that's going to make $800 million worldwide. on a $110 million budget. So no matter what, it's a hit. But you could have made the argument back when the first Deadpool came out that the sequel should have made $1 billion just because of how successful the first one was. The first Deadpool had a $58 million budget. It opened on February 12th, 2016. It made, I was right, $783 million. Good memory on that one. $132 million, $363 million domestically. So huge. Huge worldwide total. And the second, third weekend and all that was great. Deadpool had great holds. The second weekend, 56 million. You're like, oh, 57%. That's still, it's great for an R-rated movie. I mean, these are R-rated films. 31 million, 1610. I just don't know if the second weekend for Deadpool 2 will be. Well, I guess because it's Memorial Day, actually. And then over the main weekend, it made 150 million. So next weekend is going to help this film. I do think this film could make 60 million next weekend. This could be a film that actually has legs. And maybe it'll end up matching. I don't think it's going to reach that domestic total, though. I really don't. My guess would be like 300 to 320 million. And with that large opening weekend internationally, this should make 450 million foreign at least. So if it doesn't drop like a rock, we have to counter that in. So, you're looking at like it could make 700 and 80 million roughly. So it could make about the same as the first movie. That might seem disappointing if the film only performed on par worldwide with the first movie. But because the budget's so low, because it cost $110 million, they're still going to make a shitload of money. They're easily going to make $300 million profit. So it doesn't really matter. The film doesn't have to perform as well as the first movie. It could only make 600 million and it would still be a huge hit because the budget is so conservative. So overall, Deadpool 2 is still a huge, huge success. It just doesn't seem to be as much of a success initially as the first Deadpool. And the opening weekend isn't as much of wow, that's a great opening weekend. You expect Deadpool 2 to open to 125 million. There's nothing here that's surprising like the original film's release. This should have made this much money. Of course it was going to open over 100 million. But still, you can't complain about a $125 million opening weekend. We'll have to see how the movie holds in the second weekend. The drops on the day-to-day box office were much steeper than I thought it would be. 40 million down, 13 million less to Saturday. Saturday should have honestly been 48 million. This should have been able to pass Deadpool with that Friday. So it's got an A cinema score or something. So I don't know if it's word of mouth. I don't know what really happened. But yeah, that's Deadpool 2. 300 million worldwide on a $110 million budget. Huge opening. And this is huge for Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin was in Infinity War. That film's obviously been a big hit. Josh Brolin's not in many hit movies, A lot of his films don't do that great. Even though I'm a huge Josh Brolin fan. But this puts him over 6 billion worldwide. From 2 movies, basically. Although they really shouldn't be giving him credit for Age of Ultron. He's barely in that movie. But still, he's so good in Men in Black 3. But yeah, this puts him at a huge place. He played the villain in both movies, basically. This is a huge year for him. He's in 2 films that opened over 100 million. Josh Brolin probably already was an A-lister, but this puts him in the A-list for sure. I actually found Cable to be really disappointing with all the trailers stuff. I thought Cable would be not that he isn't good, but Cable was really kind of nothing in this movie. They kept fighting about the casting of this film. Tim Miller wanted Kyle Chandler, and I'm like, man, it doesn't really matter. Cable really didn't do. He's nothing in this movie. In fact, the whole X-Force, all the stuff that was advertised really doesn't deliver in the movie. A lot of the stuff they were advertising, all the shit with Cable and X-Force, that's really not what most of the movie's about, or the focus of it. Which I like Peter, I thought he would be in it a lot more, and that would be a running joke. And it's just not really, none of that stuff's in there that much. I'm not going to spoil the movie, but a lot of that stuff they were advertising is not, Cable's backstory is just, it's explained for one scene, one little flashback, flash forward, I guess. There's really not that much with him, so that stuff was weird. Maybe that put people off. I don't know. Maybe there was something lacking, something fresh. People love Deadpool, but outside of Domino, I don't think there was much in this movie to get people excited outside of Deadpool's character. I don't think they were able to draw people, and maybe they should have picked a better a villain, a better character to bring in for Deadpool to play off. But that doesn't mean Deadpool's over. I mean, obviously, if he's going to join the MCU, you got Deadpool that could be in Marvel a movie. He could be in a movie with Spider-Man. That should make $1 billion. So I don't think the Deadpool franchise is going anywhere, but this does kind of put a hit in this idea that Deadpool's so big and he can't like get any lower. Now, if this does make 800 million worldwide, that makes Deadpool just as popular as he was before, at least internationally. So Deadpool does huge in Asian market. Like, he was huge in Japan. He is kind of anime, though. I've always kind of compared him to Bugs Bunny. But there is kind of an anime aspect to Deadpool. But for Ryan Reynolds, this keeps him, at the top. Hitman's Bodyguard actually did really well. They're making a sequel to that. That made 176 million worldwide. Life didn't do great, but it did make 100 million. But the budget, it probably didn't make much. Criminal didn't do well, but that came out like the same year as Deadpool. Nobody was going to see the movie. So, for Ryan Reynolds, I'm sure he had a good payday. This puts him over 4 billion worldwide. So, Ryan Reynolds, this is great for him. It keeps him, relevant, keeps him in the top game. He now has an established character that can consistently open over 100 million at the box office. I mean, let's think about this. Let's say the third Deadpool movie costs 130 million, right? And then they're able to market it, kind of like how Iron Man 3 after the Avengers that we could do. It could open better than these previous two. But even if let's say Deadpool 3 cost $130 million and it opens to like 115 million or 110, it would still be a hit. If it only made like 230 million, 250 million, and like 650 million worldwide, it would still be a hit. That's what they have with this franchise, is because they don't make them $200 million films. Is because Deadpool's character can work on a lower budget. They can have these films continuously make profit. They could make 4 or 5 Deadpool movies that all make money, as long as they always keep the budget, under 150 million. And they should be able to do that for the sequels even. They should be able to keep Deadpool at like under 150 million. I'm sure the next film they'll spend a little bit more money on. I personally think this film could have benefited from a little bit more money. I think it would have helped with some of the wonky CG. But still, you could give the next film $140 million budget and it would still be a hit movie. Deadpool's at least a lock to open over 100 million. And he should be able to make 250 mil domestic on his next film or next couple. So, the Deadpool franchise and the brand's still there. Marvel's making the merchandise money, but, it's not a bad opening weekend. It might be a little disappointing. Just because of the first movie's, overwhelmingly great performance, but you can't say it's bad. So good for Deadpool 2. We'll have to see what happens next weekend. Next week it's going to be really exciting because we got Solo and Infinity War and Deadpool we're all going to see how they're going to perform. And nobody really knows how Solo's going to do. The tracking's huge for the movie. They're saying it's going to make over 100 million, but maybe it won't. We don't know. How much is Deadpool going to affect Solo, and how much is Solo going to affect Deadpool? I think next weekend is going to be the most exciting weekend since I've been doing Box Office Addict, because I can't think of any other weekend where so much was on the line for so many different films. Not really on the line, because they're all hits, but there's so much, like, we're going to see how Deadpool 2's performance is going to pan out. We're going to see if Infinity War can make $2 billion. We're going to see if Solo is going to open well. So it's exciting. I'm really excited about next Sunday. Blockers is at 86 million worldwide on a $21 million budget. Isle of Dogs has made $55 million worldwide. I believe this film cost about $40 million, so that's a pretty... Although it has made more than Fantastic Mr. Fox. 2001 got a re-release this weekend, 200,000 in 4 theaters. They'll do a little bit better than that. Although, granted, that's a long movie, so I don't know. I Can Only Imagine is, I guess, pretty much wrapped up at $82 million on a $7 million budget. Wrinkle in Time seems to be coming at the end of its run at $128 million. I'm trying to see if there's anything I'd like to see where it's updated. Let's check the worldwide for the year and see if anything got an international boost this weekend. Peter Rabbit did at $335 million. 50 Shades Freed, I think it may have went up a little bit. I don't know if it was at 368 before. Oh, Ready Player One, it's at $575 million. I'd say that's about the end of its run. I don't think it has much more to do. But still, it wasn't a bomb worldwide. Nothing new for Pacific Rim, nothing new for Tomb Raider, really. Paddington 2. So nothing really got, Red Sparrow, I think, got a little bit more. I think Red Sparrow got a little bit more this weekend. Game Night is up to 116. I think that was like 110. So Game Night ended up being a modest little hit for the studio. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else. I guess nothing else really got a huge boost. Love Simon actually ended up doing all right because the budget was only 17 million. So Love Simon actually ended up doing okay, all things considered. See where we're at. All right. $50 Shades of Me Too. Deadpool's too good looking. They could have done a better job with the makeup. I agree. I'm disappointed with that too. I think he could look way more ugly. God, James Brolin. Oh my god. Him in the Amityville Horror. James Brolin was such a bad actor. The problem with Leach, is that his name, Lateach, was unable to bridge the budget restraint the way Miller was. To make 60. Yeah, I will agree. Miller made like 58 million look like a much bigger movie. This film didn't look like it, like better than 110 million. David Leitch is he was one of the guys who directed John Wick. I think the other guy was the more talented director because he made John Wick 2. And David Leitch made Atomic Blonde, and I certainly like John Wick 2 way more than I like Atomic Blonde, but he's not bad. He's a slick filmmaker. The film looks slick. But Tim Miller, you gotta understand, Tim Miller has a special effects background. Tim Miller actually did special effects, so, he kind of, I don't think David Leitch had that same background with CGI. I think he's more of an action director, and he's good with, like, fight scenes and practical effects and all that stuff. Tim Miller's background in CGI, kind of like Neil Blomkamp, there's guys out there that they know the special effects, so they can, look at District 9 for 30 million. They can make a $30-50 million film look like it cost more. And I think losing Tim Miller might have affected that a little bit. I think Tim Miller could make a $110 million movie look like a $200 million movie. Because the CGI would just look better. That's just his skill, Tim Miller, that's one of those things that doesn't always work out. Hiring a guy who is a special effects guy to make your movie doesn't always work out. They didn't make a bad choice in director, though. He did a good job with the action scenes and the lighting and all that stuff. The movie looks fine. Deadpool 2 is like honestly a better looking movie than Deadpool 1. It's just the special effects aren't any better looking. Like, Colossus actually probably looks a little worse. He certainly doesn't look better, and the Juggernaut looked really fake. But the cool thing about Deadpool is because Deadpool is self-aware that he's in a superhero movie, and the movies are kind of making fun of superhero movies and blockbusters. You can have the bad-looking CGI. It kind of works in the context of Deadpool. I think it would hurt another movie like it does like the DC movies, but it doesn't really affect Deadpool because of the tone and what they're going for. You can get away with lackluster CGI in a Deadpool movie. Just because of what Deadpool is. Which benefits them. That's another reason they don't need big budgets. Did you get Days of Future Past vibes with the story of Deadpool? There was a little bit of a hint of that in there, for sure. Yeah, Domino definitely was, like, the best new addition. Josh Brolin is swinging dick on a pile of cash right now. Yeah, I agree with the CGI, but I don't think the CGI was that overwhelming in Deadpool 2, though. A lot of the action, like, there's that whole fight scene in the middle, with them trying to get to the armored van and all that, and I thought that looked all really good. There was some CGI there, but a lot of that was, like, it just looked like Ryan Reynolds fighting Josh Brolin on it. It looked good to me. A lot of that stuff. I kind of had issues with the editing of the movie. I thought it was kind of sloppily edited. It felt sort of slapped together. Oh, yeah. No, Deadpool 2 is definitely going to make profit. There's no question about that. Who's the artist who drew your avatar? Brian Shickley. You could find him on Twitter. Friends of Blood Money. Brian Shickley. He's currently doing a That Guy with the Glasses comic book, but he's the one who drew my avatar. Very cool guy, Brian. Good friend of mine. Got nothing but nice things to say about the dude. You'll see him on my Twitter sometimes, though. He comments on my tweets sometimes. Let's see if do you guys have any questions? Why is Pat? Let's see. It's okay. It's okay to say Red Letter Media did that. They said James Brolin. I did laugh about that. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but they called him James Brolin. A Captain America Deadpool film. Maybe. I don't know if that mixes as well. I could see like the Hulk with Deadpool, Spider-Man with Deadpool, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man with Deadpool could be fun. I think you need a certain tone to really pull it off. I mean, not that Captain America would be bad, because Chris Evans would be funny and he could play the straight guy, but I don't know if that's the best mix. I think there's some other characters that would be better suited. I think would make a better movie. Not that I wouldn't want to see Captain America with Deadpool. I'd watch that movie. I'm kind of losing my voice. So if you guys have any questions real quick before I finish the show. I don't know if you noticed, I'm kind of losing my voice right now, so I can't go on much longer. I can't keep talking, and I don't want to just have dead air. I know a lot of people do that on live streams. They just set and they just read a while and they're quiet. But I don't want to do that because I think that's boring. You got to treat it like radio. You got to keep the show going. But my voice is really starting to I'm starting to really get strained in my throat. I've been talking for 2 hours straight. Oh my god, they showed a trailer for a kids movie, Teen Titans Go and Deadpool. You know what I think they should do when you go see a Deadpool movie? You know what pissed me off? I leaned over to my girlfriend and I said to her, you know, it'd be cool if Deadpool popped up during these trailers, right? Like, because they kept having the Grinch show up at my trailers. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if Deadpool popped up and did a commentary for, like, the Mission Impossible trailer? Oh my god, my screening was terrible. There was a half hour of trailers before they started Deadpool. It was terrible. And in my theater, this guy brought in his mentally handicapped daughter. And I'm not trying to make fun of her or anything. Like, whatever, you know, she's meant, you know, and he wanted to go see the movie. But she kept yelling during the movie. For like the entire 2 hours, she was in the back row yelling really loud, like just nonsense. And I gotta say, compared to the Marvel fans when I saw Infinity War, it was much more bearable. So I don't know what that says about them. It was a lot easier to tune her out than it was the people seeing Infinity War. So I had a weird experience. Like 30 minutes of trailers drove me freaking nuts. It felt like forever. And then the whole time there's this freaking girl up there yelling like, I don't know what she was saying. It sounded like she was saying potatoes. I kept trying to decipher it. Like, I was getting taken out of the movie because I'm like, what is she saying? Potatoes? Is she saying Thanos? Is she talking to Josh Brolin? Is she going Thanos? I just didn't, you know, and I'm not trying to make fun of her. It's just she yelled the whole movie, so just after a while, I started to be like, okay, what are you saying? I didn't know what to do. Do I ask? Do I go up and ask? Please explain to me, what is this gibberish? Did you hear the mouse was going to make a Deadpool TV series? No, they're going to make a Deadpool TV series? I've not heard that. Oh no, the trailers were ridiculous. There was a trailer for Equalizer 2, that Muppet movie, the R-rated one. There's a trailer for Mission Impossible Fallout. There was a trailer for that movie with all the hitmen at the hotel, which looks like a John Wick ripoff, but it does have Jeff Goldblum in it. I mean, there was like 6 trailers. I was like, oh my god, kill me. There were so many trailers. I was like, fuck, I should have came here late. I was hungry. I could have went and ate food and then came in late. I'm not kidding. I timed it. It was a half hour of trailers. I've timed it on my fucking watch. I was like, Jesus Christ. The movie started 28 minutes late. It was fucking awful. I mean, I was going to walk out of the theater. I was so annoyed. I don't blame you, Bathory. I must be because theaters aren't making a lot of money, so they're trying to get more advertising. I remember when I was younger, there was not that many trailers in front of movies. You'd get a few, but you wouldn't get that many. It's a yeah. I should go. I used to go later, but I was stupid. I didn't think about that because I was with my girlfriend and we were complaining about how we wanted food, and we said, "Oh, we'll just get food after." And then we said, "There's like shit. We could have went and got food." Ended up going and buying some chicken afterwards. We were both pissed, and the whole time you have this girl up there yelling potatoes, and then then we sat down to watch the credits and all that, and it was just like, oh my god, Adpocalypse. Maybe another time. A trailer I remembered was Venom. Potato Lives Matter. Yes, they do. Damn it. Well, we have the internet now. I watch trailers on the internet. Technology now. I don't need to go to, like, I remember being young. It was exciting to see a trailer. Like when I saw the Spider-Man trailer in the theater, that was exciting. You're like, oh my god, they made a Spider-Man movie. It looks awesome, you know. Oh look, the Twin Towers. I know what those are. But now when you watch movie trailers, you're just like, well, I don't want to watch this here. Why don't they make movies like the trailers? But yeah, but you know what made it fun though? If Deadpool during his movie, if they put Deadpool in front of the trailers, and if he stopped the trailer midway through and was like, Tom Cruise broke his ankle here, it just said something. That might have helped a little bit. I meant the animated company. Oh, they were going to do Donald Glover. They were going to make a Deadpool. Yeah, I did read about that. Okay, yeah, with the Venture Brothers guy. Yeah. I have read about that, yes. I'm sorry. I don't know much about it, but I do remembering articles about that they were talking about. I mean, it sounded cool. I like the Venture Brothers. Big fan. Remember Spectacular Spider-Man? That show was great. It sucks they canceled that show. We don't watch trailers. I wish I could have avoided them too. I'll watch them on the internet sometimes, you know, whatever, but watching them in a row like that, it's like, oh my god, I feel like I'm on swag bucks. I wish they'd go back to showing Looney Tunes before movies. I do too. I'd love a cartoon before a movie. It'd be great. I would love to sit and watch like a 3-5 minute cartoon before a movie starts. Bathory, are you saying that Craig's pregnant? Now I wonder who the father is when he has this butt baby. That's true. Alright, well, I'm pretty much losing my voice. I don't think I can go on much longer. So thank you for watching this episode of Box Office Addict. I hope you guys enjoyed that it was a little earlier. You ever watch short fan films like the classic Troopers, Cops, and Patrolling Tatooine? Yeah, I've seen, yeah, of course. I've seen many of the Grayson, that was a famous one. I did watch the MTV Spider-Man show with like the weird like computer animation. I watched that when it was on. I remember watching that like every weekend when it was on TV. That was some weird shit. I remember the writing wasn't that bad though. It was kind of fun. Watch The Walking Dead porn, the best comedy I've watched in years. What are your thoughts on recent anime Nerd Crew? Is that the name of an anime called Nerd Crew? Because I haven't seen that. Or are you talking about the Red Letter Media Nerd Crew? Because that last episode was awesome where they all got jobs. That was amazing. Mike telemarketing. That made me very happy. Oh my god. Yeah, dog. Yeah, dog. Well, bye, Pat. Take care. I understand about your voice as I have dust, allergy. Yeah, I don't really have issues most of the time. Oh yeah, the recent episode was great. Yeah, I love that there's a narrative to it. I mean, I kind of prefer the earlier episodes where they didn't do that stuff as much, but I get they've done so many now, they're trying to change it up. But I really prefer like the first 5 Nerd Crews. Very cool. Very, very cool. Now, every time it cuts them doing that that laugh, it kills me every time. The 3 of them all doing it at the same time is so funny. Very cool. Me personally, I think this movie's great. Me personally, I think it's a little bit better than Force Awakens. So I give it an 8, and Force Awakens I gave a 9. But it's very cool. Well, who cares if Campio wasn't happy about it? He shouldn't be, because they I mean, when you're getting made fun of, it's hard to be happy. When you're getting made fun of well, too. You're not getting made fun of in a typical way. I don't think I can just watch somebody's video. I don't know. It subverted expectations. Oh, yes, it did, Mike. It was great. Yes, it really was. Yeah, the earlier ones felt more grounded, and there's that one great one where Rich falls over in the camera, and Jay's just like, Rich, Rich, Rich! They all start laughing. The new ones, it's like they're trying to add more to it. But once again, I don't blame them. They're probably getting bored. Because the joke it's going to get played out. So I can understand why they want to switch it up a little bit. I can understand the motivation behind it. But those first few episodes are classics. Those first 5 Nerd Crews are absolutely hilarious. Me personally, I love this movie. I do too. It's great. We all had such different, unique reactions. Oh, he does? Oh my god. I would love a Plinkett Last Jedi review. I want a Plinkett Last Jedi review so bad. I'm jonesing for it. Jonesing for it, baby. Why are you obsessed with me watching this video, Crazy? I feel like somehow you're making money off this. Who paid you? If you subvert expectations at the bank, they take your house. I hope Ryan gets a dose of that. Okay. That's... Jesus, you guys are savage. I mean, really, do you think Campia deserves a better looking wife than that? Have you seen that guy? I mean, he looks like a failed abortion. Like an abortion that didn't get completed, but he still survived somehow. Me personally, I think Solo was very cool. Very, very cool. That's so funny. Tried to watch it, but couldn't get through it. Alright, well, thank you for watching Box Office Addict episode 44. I'll see you guys next week, 45 Memorial Day weekend. That'll be awesome. If you're listening to Box Office Addict, if you're watching it, you're probably a box office addict yourself. And I'm not here to help you with your addictions. I'm here to encourage them. Because I want you to be dead in a sewer. Because I don't care about you. I don't care about anything. My life's pointless. That sounds awesome. Solo? Marisu? Alright, I'm playing out some Sharkfoot music for you guys. Let me go back a little bit. I'm going to play the intro. This went longer than I wanted. I actually wanted this episode to be like 2 hours or under. But we went on a little longer. See you, Bathory. It's always good to see you, my friend. Bathory's awesome, isn't she, guys? Let's give her a round of applause. But don't get cocky, kid. You're gonna let it go to your head, and you're gonna miss getting right to the top. If you want to get to the top, you gotta have a level head, kid, okay? Alright, Bathory? I'm gonna take care of you. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it someday, okay, kid? You got a lot of talent, kid, but you got a lot of ego, too. You gotta keep it in check. It's been a pleasure lasting through BOA. Thanks for the fun, Pat. Enjoy your Sunday in sunny Philly. When you asked me how the weather's in Philly, it's sunny. It's sunny, people. I mean, I'd cheat on John Campy if he was my husband. That's the only way I could get through the day without vomiting myself to death. Yes, clap, 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 clap. Clap, clap, clap. What movie is that from? I think it's from several movies. It's just a character. Like a vaudeville kind of guy. Like, we got a show for you, okay? I'm gonna put it on, alright, kids? Or like, I think there's a Simpsons character that's like that, too. Yeah, you gotta check that ego, okay? Alright, folks? Okay, gang? Alright. Real quick, though, don't forget the t-shirts. Ben Swifty, Thursday, and if you're reading this, I hate Drake. And if you're listening to this, I hate Collider, whatever. Whatever the I don't have anything left. I'm gonna go, like, die.